for life. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I'm pretty much content with just rhyming all day.
Or Digital can instantly share pictures.
I can start. Hello. I am sorry, but I must interrupt this show.
You know what it is. Hey, Ham Solo. It's time, baby. Low. It's time how we do. Hey.
They said we said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said we go. We say that you heard right. 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 They said we said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said strong. They said we said go. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you man. I swear that it's imminent. I've been going so hard on my penmanship. About to go in and buy me a wheel. And I pull that shit fresh off the dealership. I can leave you in red like an Xbox. Got me laughing at you like you red fox. Got you chasing Hot Wheels like a matchbox. EA running the game and it don't stop. Super cold like I'm playing for Blizzard. Got you all in my sights like Red Dead Redemption. Never gonna slip on my pimpin'. Better get out my way, bitch, I'm on a mission. Really ain't no competition. I'm steady grilling opposition. I'm get up and ready to win. They can play it how they play, but fuck what you say. I'm getting this money today. Last of us like a dying breed. Down the ride like a noble steed. Fatality moves, I make it bleed. That's on any game, that's on any screen. Shut up and give me your money. They said we so lit. Even if I take an L, we coming back just to show that we don't quit. They said we said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. We're officially 30 minutes late, but we're here. Everything plus gaming on TSWS Gaming. I'm Luke7, and joining me as always is my wonderful, wonderful panel of guests and my co-host, Mr. Ham Solo 05. Joining us as usual is Oshis07 and Taye Talks. Ham, how you doing? What you been playing?
I'm all right. Just got done doing my show a little bit ago and talking about what I was talking about for a little while, more or less. That being like what Phil Spencer was talking about with I talked about what he talked about with Paris, but not with Destin. But I've assumed they pretty much kind of said the same stuff. And I also played some Ninja Gaiden, and Tai came through, and the Sly Crow came through as well, which was pretty dope. And Bunty came through. Yobi, yeah, it was a pretty interesting show. Went on for a while. Went on longer than it felt like it went on.
Yeah,
which is a good thing, right? Went longer than it
Yes.
felt like.
That's always a good thing.
I mean, that's good in all sorts of situations for the most part. If it's for all right, we're done.
Yeah. Let's leave it there. Ty, what you been playing and how you doing?
I've been playing nothing, to be honest. Typical Smash Bros. EAFC. So nothing really. Metaphor here and there. So that's kind of it. I've been very dry when it comes to gaming this past few weeks, but I'll probably pick it up. No, well, I will pick it back up when Assassin's Creed comes out. So that's going to be March when I'll get back fully into gaming again. But yeah, right now I'm a bit of a fraud. I just I go on walks, I cycle, I do the boring stuff. So, and I've been watching a lot of Netflix, Silo on Apple TV as well.
Dude,
so yeah,
so good.
Yeah, Silo's really
keep
good.
Going. I'm still on season 1. I'm on like episode 6 or 7. I mean, each episode's like an hour, right?
Yeah, I will say one thing is it's good that you can binge it, because in the second season it's good. Like I'm not no spoilers or anything, but it does feel like it kind of leaves like certain cliffhangers a lot, and I don't really like that. So it's good that you can actually binge the whole first and second season in a row. Really good show.
It feels like nowadays shows don't know how to close for the next week properly like they used to, because I feel like shows are made now to be binged, right? Compared to shows being made where like anime does it really well. They know how, and anime does it so well to a point where it feels like they got garbage episodes. right? Like where it just feels like filler. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I feel like shows back in like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s knew how to kind of wrap up close to towards an end of an episode or even an end, especially an end to a season. Season finales used to be mad questioned, and now they just kind of happen. Like the Squid Games, like they just cut that season in half, and they're just like, oh, it's just right here. It just stops. Like that was kind of disheartening. I'm not gonna lie. Squid Games really disappointed me with the way that they ended this. If they
I think a
even
lot
want to
of it
call
has
it a
to do
season.
with the economics of things as well, and the fact that everyone's attention is just kind of going left, right, and all over the place. So if you don't have something to pull people back in, like they're gone. I remember watching some shows that were good enough, and as soon as I found out that hey, the next episode is next week, I was done. I was like, okay, screw you then. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna go do something else. So I feel like they're actually reacting to how we are consuming these products, and it makes sense. Like you're right with Squid Game, it was quite bad. However, I think about how Netflix wants to raise the price.
Whoa,
Yo, what's happening to your mic?
I think that's Asha's.
Yeah, it's actually.
Oh, okay. Sort out your mic, Oshis.
See, that's what your mic sounded like that time, Loke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I know I
It's
think about
alright.
how Netflix wanted to like they want to raise their prices, and if you're gonna raise your prices, you need something to sell. Even think about it from a gaming perspective, like Xbox. In 2022, they didn't raise their prices. As soon as they knew they had Starfield, Redfall, and all these other games coming through, they're like, okay, yeah, jack it up. That was it.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Starfield soon. Sorry, Oshis, how are you doing and what have you been playing recently?
No, man, I'm doing good. Like I've had my PC for a while now, so I've been playing some StarCraft, going through the Command and Conquer collection, the Red Alert games especially. But
Mm,
since of as of next week, I've actually just been on Ninja Gaiden 2. That was like my jam from back in the 360 days. So like, and it's so like they did it so well. I tried it on my PC, funny enough, and yeah, there's something wrong with the Game Pass version. It does not support DLSS. It only supports like all the AMD stuff. So I'm actually jamming it currently on my Xbox Series X. And I know that game, like they did such a good job in updating that game. Like it really, really is so much fun. It's actually better than I even remember.
wow. Wow. Okay. Xbox coming through. I finished Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Um,
Wow.
I got emotional actually.
No spoilers. No,
Yeah,
I haven't finished it yet.
I'd be
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sad too if I did all that, and still didn't beat Elden Ring. I'd be
The
pretty
fuck
sad.
out of here. Get the fuck out. I've already beaten Elden Ring. I just haven't
Yeah,
100%ed that
yeah.
motherfucker.
So
Anyways, I played
I'm proud of you,
um
though, Luke. Congratulations.
for Phantom Liberty, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god. What a game. Guys,
What a guy.
listen. The hype is not fake. Cyberpunk, anyone that says it's the greatest RPG of all time, I will not fight them. Fuzzy says it's the best game of all time. Again, I won't fight you. Like, I don't think, even Kojima's masterpiece, I don't think I can sit here and categorically say, no, that's definitely leagues ahead of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, at the very least, me as a fan of that series, Cyberpunk is very close to it, maybe even like on the same level. It's it's crazy, guys. Like you know that meme that everyone has of like when you finish a game and then you sit there for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I watched all the credit scenes in Cyberpunk, just thinking about everything that had gone on, all the decisions I had to make, all the ramifications I had to freaking deal with. Masterpiece. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. Uh, I'm guessing you agree with me, Ty. Have you played Phantom Liberty?
I haven't played Phantom Liberty. Just finished the first. I mean the core game, and the core game was good. It was great.
Have you
Really
bought
enjoyable.
Have you bought Phantom Liberty?
I have it. I'm gonna replay the whole thing. I was thinking playing it, in February before Assassin's Creed comes out. So yeah, I'll probably play it before then. And hopefully I'll finish it as well.
Bro, like it's to the point where when people were buying copies of Elden Ring for other people to play it so they could understand the
Mm.
majesty of Elden Ring. I'm at the level where I'm like, I will buy a copy of Phantom Liberty for someone that's played the game, hasn't experienced Phantom Liberty. It's so good. It's so fucking good, dude. Like it's so good. I forgot I had a podcast yesterday. That's how good it is.
Mm.
Fuzzy says I should go back and get the other endings. Fuzzy, after I finished it, right? I just decided no, because obviously that's what I did with the original game, right? I went back and did the other endings. I'm going to wait for my PC. I'm going to wait for my PC to arrive. I'm going to buy Phantom Liberty again on Steam or GOG. Probably, yeah, I'll just buy it on GOG. I'm going to buy it again on GOG. I'm going to replay the whole thing again and get the other endings on my PC. And I'm so psyched. I'm so excited to replay Cyberpunk in like 3 to 6 months. It's going to be glorious. And oh my
You don't
God.
own it on Steam?
No, I don't. I don't. I only have it on Xbox.
Oh wow,
Welcome
I
in.
didn't know that.
Your volume's a bit low, Ham. I don't know. Is it just me? All right, let me
I
put the
can
volume.
hear him fine.
All right. Welcome in, Fuzzy, Raichi, Ron Slasher. Welcome. Ron says I watched the credits on Concord. We all did, bruv. We all watched it just sunset into nothing. Hopefully, it'll be back for the sequel. I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, before we get into the topics for today, Oshus and Tai, you guys weren't on Friday. So, but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the developer direct. Oshus first. What were your thoughts on the developer direct? What was the high point? What was the low point in your opinion?
That was a great show. Like Microsoft did a pretty good job of like I have not seen a third party show that good in a long time. Like I would love EA or like Ubisoft or even Rockstar. Like when Rockstar is probably gonna do something like that for GTA. But like they've really mastered that whole formula of just sort of like talking you through the game and taking you through the studio, and it works very well. They've really perfected that entire format of theirs. So overall, I thought the show was great. If I had to give it a rating, I would go as far as saying close to close to a 9 because there's nothing like a perfect show. Given and again, I'm rating it against like other like similar shows that
Mm.
we've had plus. I'll give it an 8 overall. It would have been a 9 but there was just like one game that sort of didn't connect with me personally.
I'm guessing that's
But
the low point.
overall,
What game is that? What was the low point?
The
uh,
game with the black people.
what are you talking about? South of Midnight. Uh,
Oh, you fraud! You fucking and us and Tai caught you before you even said
no,
anything.
like
You
no, but
fraud.
like that's not like it's not that. It's just
Uh,
it's the. I would say that every other game on there sort of appealed or spoke to me. Like I'm a huge Ninja Gaiden fan. You know, like I love Ninja Gaiden, so they had me with that whole Ninja Gaiden part of the show. I love turn-based RPGs, like traditional, old school JRPGs. So that game, Expedition,
it's
is
not
what
a it's
really,
not a traditional turn-based game. Like we said during last week's podcast,
yeah,
it's very much just borrowing from what was there before, but you can it essentially you can turn it into like an
yes.
action game, a
Well, you
hybrid
can if
action.
that's how you want to play it, but like from what I understood from the developers, They were
Yeah.
very much inspired by JRPGs to make that game, and I love that.
Yes.
And you can see it in the way they approached it. It doesn't look like any turn-based RPG I've played recently from the West. So I really loved that. Really connected with it, and of course, who doesn't love Doom? Like Doom, instantly, sort of like if you're a gamer, that's what you're into. Like immediately, I can see what they're selling me on there. The only thing like where I like literally like I checked out. I went and I made myself a cup of coffee, and I just took the iPad along was the South of Midnight stuff. Like, I don't get the hook for me personally. Like, I've got nothing against the art style, and I thought there's a lot of interesting things about the game, but I feel about that game the same way I feel about something like, let's say, um, what is that game that won Game of the Year? The two
Astrobot.
player, no, the
It
two
takes
player.
two.
It
Oh,
takes
it
two.
takes two.
Like, there's nothing there for a guy like me. Like, there's nothing I look at there and say, oh, cool, I would really like to experience this. Like,
That's fair.
they couldn't hook me, unfortunately. Like, it
That's fair.
looks interesting, but I just don't think I'm the target market for that game. But yeah, no, dude, like, I thought that was a solid. That was the best. I'll go as far as saying that was the best showcase since the launch of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. That's the best showcase anyone has done that focuses on games. And then you have the people making the games telling you what you're going to be experiencing, and you're seeing the gameplay. Perfect balance. Like, if that's Aaron Greenberg's work, he outdid himself. Like, they really crushed it. Microsoft, they killed it.
I believe the person who's responsible is called Tina. I think she joined from a different company. This is a couple. She's the girl who interviewed Phil Spencer about the when he said Hi-Fi Rush is going over and all these other games. That infamous interview. So I think she's the one who's been leading that. And yeah, listen, I think it's like I'm in complete agreement
Hello?
with you on everything. It's
Hello.
dope.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear you, bro.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can
cool.
hear.
So I was just trying to clear something up. So Oshus doesn't like South of Midnight because he's African, but Loke likes it because he's African American.
Oh, get the
Did I
get
get
the
that
hell out
right?
of here. Oh my goodness.
Did I do it right?
No, Ham, you got that very wrong.
I'm sorry. That felt
This
right.
guy.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my reason.
See, Ty got me. He said it's close enough. All right, let's go.
No, your delivery, Ham. Your delivery was spot on, but that's not true though. Mishi says 100. No. G maybe says it's Tina Amini.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Tina
Ty.
Amini.
Go ahead.
Yeah, she's doing a really good job. I think Xbox is really in their flow now with the games coming out, with the execution from the marketing point of view. You could say the show. I wouldn't say it's the best showcase, but like obviously I was just talking about like developer direct. That's what I would agree on, because I think it wouldn't be right to compare it to other showcases. It's meant to convey to the fans how the developers feel about the product, and also to just let you guys know about the mechanics, the systems in place. I think on that point it was perfect. I'm not crazy about the games. I'm not crazy about Doom. I'm not crazy about South of Midnight. Ninja Gaiden, I'm interested in, but I'm not crazy about it either. So there wasn't really anything there for me that really blew me away. However, from an objective standpoint, that's a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 show. I can't, there's no flaw. The pacing was good as well. I know people had an issue like, okay, South of Midnight is a bit slow.
Yeah.
However, I don't see where else you would have put it. I think to start off with Ninja Gaiden was a huge win because it kind of gets everyone excited, so that's number one.
Yeah.
And then Claire Obscura at some point pops in, and that's really interesting and intriguing. And then you close off with Doom. Like, I don't know where South of Midnight fits into that. Does it go first? No, that's boring. Does it go last? Well, that's a bad way to end the show. So, yeah, I think the pacing is real good.
I'm just curious though, like who's their target? Like, again, like, to me this has been such a big thing, and I know a lot of people don't want to have this conversation. Like, who's the target market for that game? Like, whenever they were sitting down and they were looking at the demographics who play video games, who did they think that they were aiming that game towards? Because I really think they need to refine the marketing so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle like Hellblade 2. Like, they really need to hone in their marketing in terms of who, because I want games like that to succeed, but don't market them at the wrong people. Like, know your market. And to your point, Tai, like, that game would have been nice in a show where there was more of that audience that, something like that, like, Keely's show. That show is something I would have shown off at Keely's show at the Summer Game Fest or whatever, because there's a lot more broad, crossover. It's not like your hardcore sort of like PC guys and console guys watching that.
You know
Well,
what
my
I
thing.
you know what I'll say
Well,
about
hold on,
that.
real quick. Like the one thing I just wanted to say real quick is I feel like they are kind of they're taking a chance in art style, and they're taking a chance with um with type of story, because that type of story has never really
Yeah.
been told in a game. The thing that I kind of agree with you on, that's kind of maybe a little scary for the game, is that it kind of took the similar approach, though, to a genre like a Kana type of thing
Mm.
that hasn't really been proven to be a good
Genre.
genre of game, or to be a selling genre type of game. So, and I'm here to tell you, Kano was a fantastic game. Kano was a good game. I really enjoyed it. I beat it I believe I beat it on my PlayStation 5, actually.
I jumped off quickly on Ken. I tried it and then I was like, no thanks.
I enjoyed it. I also beat the Gunk. And to be honest, they're
Oof.
both very similar games, and people might not like to might like to admit that, but they are. They're both kind of, let's clean up the area.
Are you saying they're doing laundry, Ham?
No, they're not doing laundry. I'm just saying, like, this area is bad. Like, it's very like Breath of the Wild does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You're cleaning up the area, right, from
Okay.
being all disgusting and whatnot. So, like, that's essentially what you're kind of seemingly doing in South of Midnight. But the thing that they really dove into, or that they're trying to convey that they dove into, is that they went further in the story in that type of genre than anybody else has, with music, with art, lore, in a area that never has really been described. So I see what Ashis is saying for, like, I hope they continue that, because that sounds fantastic. But at the same time, it's like, I wonder how it's going to play out, because that specific type of game, it's not like a boomer shooter where everybody's like, yo, like, if this
Yeah.
boomer shooter is hot enough, everybody's just going to, it's just going to blow up, and like Steam is going to go crazy, right? This isn't really that. This is like, man, I hope this story really hits, because if it doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Ushers, before, sorry, Ty, I wanted to say something. Before you go, Ty, I just want to read some comments here. Fuzzy says, I'm the target audience for South of Midnight. I love weird interpretations of urban legends slash fairy tales. Web Dave, what's happening? Welcome in, welcome in. Ty, go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with Oshus in the sense that I think this is actually a prime game that should be multi-platform. Forget about Outer Worlds 2 and even Doom. Like, this game needs it. I think they need a
Yes.
winner. So if
Yeah.
if I'm actually Xbox, I'm delaying this. I'm pushing it back, and I'm making a PlayStation 5 port right now. Because with Game Pass, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5, or even 4 if that's what it's gonna come out, and even Nintendo Switch 2, yeah, I think this game gets a lot of traction. Nothing too crazy, but it gets traction. Now, Ham, you said it's kind of like Kena Bridge of Spirits, and I looked it up real quick just to see, how that would compare. So I have some like sales kind of figures here, and it says Kena broke even within 1 month. Josh Grier said Sony was happy with the results. It was the most downloaded PlayStation 5 game on September 2024 in Europe, and the third most in North America. The PlayStation 4 version was the 16th in Europe. In October, it was the fifth most downloaded PlayStation 5 game. So Kena clearly didn't do crazy numbers, but for its budget, it did really well for Sony then. So I think they're happy with that. So I'm just hoping Microsoft has budgeted this game pretty well. If the budget is right, and you throw in Game Pass, PC, and Xbox, I think it'll turn up a good profit. But I would tell them delay it, drop it on PlayStation as well, and drop it on Switch to kind of make sure the game. I mean, to save the game. I don't want to say save the game because I don't think the game is going to fail, but to at least give the game a better chance at succeeding.
Yeah, and I think the game is a cultural touchstone. I know maybe it might be an exaggeration. The thing hasn't come out yet, but it seems like the type of game that's going to have tremendous staying power. Like, we're talking cult classic, we're talking freaking documentaries around this game, in my opinion. Like, those YouTubers that make like 2 hour videos. I think that's going to happen in a positive sense with South of Midnight. Welcome in, Sour Blow says hello to the Four Horsemen. Just kidding. Go ahead, Oshis. You want to say something?
No, no, no. I was just agreeing with you that it has cult classic written all over it. The only other provision, Loke, to meet that standard is it needs to be good at launch. It needs to be positively reviewed, and
It looks good.
All right, there we go.
because if it doesn't meet that criteria, then it'll just disappear and it just become fodder. Like I fear that what will happen to it is very similar to what happened to Kanzeria Zhao, because Zhao did what, like 70 something,
Yeah,
early 70s,
it didn't do great.
and I think that hurt its like cult sort of people discovering it later. The moment a game goes below 80, unfortunately, in our culture or in our gaming culture space, like everybody sort of forgets about it regardless. Like there's gonna be very few people that are still gonna then want to discover it. If it gets like 80, like Kenna Bridge of Spirits, 80 plus or so, and maybe doesn't do as well, you have, and of course it's gonna be always on Game Pass, if Microsoft continues with their current strategy, there's always a chance for people to discover it and someone to make some sort of like start a movement behind it where people can like sort of like discover it way past its sell by date type of thing. So there's potential there, but it just, and compulsion, I just worry because they've never had a solid like home run. I just worry that they're gonna fail to stick the landing. Like there's gonna be one two things, either gameplay wise or like the loop is not like in
Well,
different
they
enough.
only really had one big chance with the game, and they
Mm.
kind of just ran out of like time and resources, essentially. So, like, this is their first time, like, actually, like, not only coming out the house, but also
Yeah.
having money while being outside the house. So it's just like it's for them. I'm pretty excited for them, to be honest, because they seem pretty ecstatic and they seem pretty happy to be picked up by Microsoft when they were.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Hey, Drone TJ, welcome in. Everyone, please follow the instructions of Drone TJ. Smash that like button. Let's get to it. Ty, did you tell us what your rating was for the show? Or you kind of got
I'm
lost.
gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Before we go on to the bad news about Xbox or whatever, um, is it me or Xbox has been killing it with uh with showcases for years now?
They have, but the problem is they're not. Again, it just comes down to their messaging, man. Like, I just wish they would be just trans. You know what I want from Xbox? I want them to just come out and say, "Look, we're gonna put Halo's coming to play. Like, this is what we're doing. We're putting it out there, and this is where we're going." This thing of like, sort of like, well,
Drip
we're doing
feeding.
it. Yeah, like people just want to know what is happening, like so that we can know what we're confident in, because they've changed their minds so many times. It's very difficult for you to sort of trust the direction they're going, because when they bought Bethesda, it was, well, we're going to make exclusives where Game Pass exists. If you have Game Pass, then you'll get our games. Then that messaging changed again. Like, it's hard for them after these amazing shows, because what happened last year? Last year that they had that terrific, amazing, great show, and then a couple of weeks later they're sitting there awkwardly on stage, Sarah Bond, Mr. Booty, and Phil, all awkward, trying to explain to us what they're going to be doing going forward, and saying a lot of like nothing. That's the problem. It's always anticlimactic.
Oshis is not a fan. All right. Ty, do you have
I am
anything to
a
add to
fan.
my comment that they've been killing it in terms of showcases for the last few years?
Oh yeah, they've been the best. No one gears up to them. Xbox has wide variety of studios from live service. You have the flight simulators. They have some good third party catches like Stalker 2 as well. And then obviously, the main games you had like the Starfield. Yeah, I think from a diverse point of view, they're dope. They have quality and the pacing is good. I think they're really in their stride when it comes to the messaging with games. Xbox is in that position now where they can mess up, say something silly, dumb, and they can turn around and just okay, well, here's the showcase. Now shut up, like shut your mouth. Like they're in that PlayStation like position now. Um, you, the fact that they were able to start
What?
off this year, yeah, they can tell them to shut up. The fact that
They're in the PlayStation like position. I need you to say that one more time.
they're in a PlayStation like position where they have so many good games that if they mess up and they need to all they need to do is give you a developer direct or a showcase, and we know those two are going to be quality, you have nothing to say. Like Phil Spencer could say something right now, and then the next week you'll be like, okay, well, here's your Fable gameplay. It's done. Like, who cares at that point, right? It's all about the games. It's always been about the games, and that's why we're very critical of them.
That's
When
true.
you do something crazy, if you don't, provide us with games, we don't care. So yeah, they're in a very good position right now. So I completely agree with you. And like even thinking about their showcase right now, they didn't show Fable. They probably didn't show Oblivion, which is rumored. They probably didn't show Gears, which we might see as well. They have so much in the docket.
Perfect Dark as well. They didn't say
Perfect
anything
Dark,
about that.
yeah, and we know they have other games that we haven't seen as well that probably been made. As Phil said, I can see the vision, I can see the games, like everything is lining up perfectly. Now, in relation to what Usher said
So
about just them speaking, the only pushback I really have there is, I think at the end of the day, Xbox is still a corporation, and you still want to sell products. So I can see why they're not fully saying all these elements yet, because that might hurt the brand or hurt the sales in some way, shape, or form. However, I think when we look at everything now, in that developer direct, you saw the PlayStation logo on every single one of those titles.
yes.
except for South of Midnight.
Yes, apart from Start of Midnight, because that's not being major. So I think this is them saying literally, and obviously we've seen the new Phil Spencer interviews. These people can't say it any clearer. We are not playing this game of console wars. We're not competing with Sony anymore. In fact, we would argue that Sony is our biggest partner because we make the most money from them. So I don't think I need to really do anything anymore now. I think everyone understands the story. Xbox is multi-platform, a new type of multi-platform studio. They make consoles, they're a publisher, and the developer. They do all these things, and I think it can work. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I agree with you. Look, Xbox is in their stride, and I don't see them really slowing down anytime soon.
All right. Fuck, welcome in. Says hello, you awesome lot. Oshes, if you need a hug, I'm here for you. But
I'll take it. I appreciate it.
Ham, anything you wanna add here? What's this? Loke
Can you hear me?
Seven Forehead says, "Excuse me, through y'all." Oh damn. All
See
right.
through. Excuse
All
me.
right. Go ahead, Ham. Go ahead.
That's great. Oh shit. Oh shit. Um no, I didn't have anything really to say other than like, oh yeah, I was talking about South of Midnight for just a quick second.
Uh,
Hello?
did we lose him?
Ham, some's up with your audio. We can't hear you. Okay, well, Ham sorts that out. Verge based
Hello?
Brizzle. Yeah, we can hear
Yo.
you now.
All right, cool. It's like every time I touch this thing on Evmux, it just messes. I don't know. This
Yeah,
this thing is something.
it's weird.
But anyways, I was saying like it'd be interesting to see, especially from these like, because isn't South of Midnight like $40 or $50?
50.
It'd be interesting to see them turn like a South of Midnight and like a Hellblade into like trilogy games, or like, like games that have like kind of episodes that you can have that kind of lore that you're talking about, Loke. Maybe even turn it into like
It's
kind of a
40
show
bucks.
kind
Sorry.
of thing.
Sorry. South of Midnight
Yeah,
is
so it's
40.
40.
Jesus. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Go,
thought
go,
it
go
was
ahead.
maybe 40.
That's
But yeah, so I mean, that's what I was saying. It'd just be kind of cool because I feel like you could, especially with who's like acting and who's there's feedback. What is that?
that might just be on your end, but
Hearing
I can
myself?
also hear feedback from
I
Ham.
think that's Loke. Or wait. Oh no. Okay, I don't hear it now. That's wild. Anyways, so yeah, I was just thinking it'd be kind of cool to see a show or something out of that if they can make more than one game of this.
mm,
Just this, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to see all that if they could pull it off. Because I could see an
I
actual world like that.
yeah, yeah. I think they could do it. It looks interesting enough. Verge-based Brizzle, welcome in. The elemental hero, the Shadow. Keep in mind to we still are getting events. Okay, appreciate that. Loke 7 forehead. Sorry for the feedback. It's
Oh,
bouncing off my head. Oh my goodness. Dorian
oh
Gray.
man, that's
Welcome in,
fantastic.
Dorian Gray. Appreciate you. Late, but still on time though. Still on time. All right, let's get into it. Um, here we go. Let's transition that. So we all saw the Phil Spencer interview, right? We all saw it. And one of the takeaways, as you can see on the screen from VGC, is that Phil Spencer suggests Starfield could come to other consoles. Let's read the actual quotes because sometimes the highlights they add too much salt. All right. When asked, yo, what is that feedback?
Which forehead?
Cautious? I think
Was it
that's you.
me?
Yeah, that
Loke's
was you.
Like,
forehead's going nuts again.
can you do me a favor, man? Can you
What?
just send me another link because I can't control anything here. I can't mute. I can't change camera. I can't even see my picture.
Okay. Well, the feedback's
So,
gone, but I'll send you.
but
I'll
just
send
yeah,
you.
just send me another link so I can disconnect and then I'll just try and log in again because I don't know what's wrong with this one. I can control nothing here, so I can't mute anything. Unfortunately, I think
Okay.
it might be coming from me.
So you want to? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm
All right.
gonna log out. Just send me another link,
All right.
or somebody send me a link
I'm
between
sending
you
it
and
to your
him.
Twitter. I'm sending it to
Cool,
your Twitter right now.
cool.
All right. So while Oshus sorts that out, Ron Slasher says someone forgot to pay their internet bill. Anyways, yeah. When asked by Destin Legary whether or not he could confirm that Starfield will remain exclusive, Spencer replied, "No, there's no specific game. There's no reason for me to put a ring fence around any game and say this game will not go to a place where it will find players and have business success for us. What we find is we're able to drive a better business that allows us to invest in a great game lineup like you saw. That's our strategy. Our strategy is to allow our games to be available. Game Pass is an important component of playing the games on our platform. Uh, a PS5 port of Starfield has been rumored since Xbox shared its vision of the future a year ago, where it confirmed that Sea of Thieves, Hi Fi Rush, and more would no longer be Xbox console exclusives. Continuing with Phil Spencer's quotes, he said, and I quote, to keep games off of other platforms, that's not a path for us. It doesn't work for us. All right. So that's the quote from Phil Spencer. Ham, you first. What are your thoughts on potentially Starfield going to PlayStation?
It sounds like it's going. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's potentially going.
Sounds like
Sounds
it's
like it's
going
going.
at
Yeah.
some point.
I mean, they kind of already said it, but now I think it's like loud and clear. If you guys haven't wasn't like listening, like You guys didn't hear it from the back. Well, I got y'all. Here it
Mm-hmm.
is. One last time, so you guys don't ask me again. And then we're gonna go straight for the neck now. So like I think they're gonna go nuts now with it for the most part, and it's gonna be something to be had.
Everything, everything, said Cat Williams. The mechanic, welcome in, says the old Windows reset trick. Maybe that's what Oshes needed. Oshes, how you doing? Is your internet back up? Are you good now?
Yeah, yeah. At least now I can. I just now I can control the like my mute
All
and
right.
stuff.
All right. Now just switch up your profile picture.
Cool.
Diego de los Rios, Ham Solo's arch nemesis, says whole slate. Ham, are you indifferent? Are you supportive of this? Do you hate it? Where are you with this?
Um, not like traditionally, I'm not a fan of it, but as of somebody that's just looking to get what he can out of video games,
Yeah.
is kind of just what it is, right? Like I, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, it was fun to pretend to kind of be on totally different teams for a while, but I guess now we're not really. We're not really on the same team yet either, though, because there's still console coming out, so there's still time to be like, what is really happening, because it's like transforming right in front of our face. Because I've even I even had an article where I was talking about it earlier, where like even Sean Layden came out and like somebody wrote an article based off of what he said like late last year about like this like we're running into like the wall of consoles being made,
Mm,
or the traditional form factor of consoles. Right now, Switch is kind of hybrided out and made a different way to play, where people want to be, and people are already being more mobile with their cell phones and stuff like that and playing and whatnot. But with everything kind of being come to you service, everything outside of gaming pretty much being come to you, like I can get my groceries sent to me by using the grocery store app. I don't have to go there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can do anything. My movies come to me. Um, I can use whatever service, but I don't have to physically do shit. Right?
yeah.
But like the thing that Xbox still has to deal with at this point, which Google has to deal with the same thing, just on the phone side, is that they still have to maintain some sort of hardware to understand what they're giving their customers. So that in my opinion, that's why you still see something like a Google Pixel phone right now. Because I mean, because we were like, well, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Android is owned by Google. That's what's in my Samsung phone. That's what's in people's Huawei or however you say that. That's what's
Yeah.
in Motorola phones. That's what's in like
ZTE.
mostly any phone that's out there, that's in like any phone that's in an Android network is using Google's software. But even with all of those products, and we're talking about tens, if not more, different like cell phone, cellular devices out there, makers.
Yeah, yeah. And they're all making
The,
bank.
Yeah, and they're all finding their way to make money. Why would you think that Microsoft would stop when they're doing literally the same thing except with video games? Right? And then keep this also in mind. Because who did they say who did they say their real competition was, right? They said their competition was Luna, Google, and Apple, right? Or
Yeah.
not Luna,
They said it was
Amazon,
Amazon. Yeah,
Amazon,
Amazon, Google,
Google,
Apple.
and Apple, right?
Yeah.
I said Luna. That's funny. Uh, um, which one of those companies don't sell hardware? The answer is none of them. They all sell hardware to support their software. All of them do. Maybe not all of them do for video games particularly, but not all of them are like really in video games like that. But then again, Apple kind of is getting into video games more with Apple Store. Um, Google's tried it, and I think they're going to be trying again. They've been talking more and more about the Google,
Apple
about Google
Arcade.
games.
Apple
Yeah,
Arcade made more than PlayStation and Xbox combined. I think it was last year or the year before.
It's probably the year before before they got before Xbox got king.
They made crazy money.
Let's see. And then Amazon. Nobody thinks about Amazon's hardware, but everybody wants to say, "Hey Alexa." You know what I'm saying? Like they got hardware too. They got hardware up the yin yang for Amazon. So it's just like all of these companies are going to continue to sell what they're investing towards. And what Xbox is investing towards is video games. So what are they going to invest in? Some sort of hardware for them to continue to understand where they're putting their software.
All right. So Ham's not against it. Not for it either.
I'm not completely with the whole idea of, like
Even your
I think
tone changed.
it's
Even the
funny when you
tone.
think it's funny when you think about it because it's like, I'm making money in the middle of streets. It's funny, right? But at the same time, it's like we stayed on our side of the street for a reason. Right? And now we
what's
over
the
on your
reason?
side of the street.
What's the reason?
And see, that's the problem. That's the problem. Is a lot of people, or at least Phil Spencer right now is coming out here looking like Michael Jackson with a glove on, pulling down that gun. You know what I'm saying? Just pushing that gun right down. Like, no, sir, don't shoot. These are friendlies. These are friendlies. We can make mad money off of them. It's diabolical. And see, I was asking Yobi earlier. I was like, when does PlayStation say, "Whoa, wait a second," or do they? Or are they just like, "Yo, that's my bro now"? Like me and him was squabbling it out, and now we straight. Like, are they like that now, or are they like we got some like are they gonna come out with any IP to come out to compete? Because clearly they thought they did with Concord at first.
That's a low blow, Ham. That
No,
doesn't even.
I'm not even trying to be a low blow. I'm just saying, like, you're getting into live service, you're going after people. Concord was a direct competitor with Marvel Rivals. It was a direct competitor as well with Overwatch. Paladins, if that's still around, or whatever the hell, right? Like it was a direct competitor to those games, and it overwhelmingly failed. So, like, to think about their next game, which isn't a competitor to an Activision Blizzard game, it's competitive. It's a competitor to the finals, right? Fair games. That's a competitor to the finals if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
And
That's what it looks like.
I'm actually more excited for Fair Games than I was for Concord. I thought Concord was all right feeling wise games. The way they made their characters were spooky, right? Like I can agree with that. It's spooky. Being old big mamma jamma, that was some spooky shit. But but all around, like I thought the game felt good and it looked nice and it ran well. It just didn't appeal to people, so it didn't get a fair shake, and it costs money when Marvel Rivals is flossing out in these streets and they free. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean that's kind of my idea behind it. Like I'm not with it with what they're doing with Microsoft or whatnot, but at the same time, it's making more sense the more time kind of progresses, the more we're starting to see who's kind of steadfast with their old kind of morals, essentially. Because I feel like this is kind
Ideals. I would
of
say ideals.
morals or ideals, or maybe even both, right? Because it seems like the reason I say morals is because you
Mm.
look just a generation ago in the most staunch PlayStation fanboy, whether you like it or not, would not have thought that their game was going to end up being on PC.
That's true. That's true. Never, never, ever, ever,
They were
never, never,
laughing
never, never,
as soon
never,
as
never.
PC was mentioned about Xbox. It was Xbox is out the door. Their
They're
their
dead.
ceiling is crumbling. They're falling. They're done. And now everybody's saying PlayStation can do it. PC is fine. That's just one platform that we're serving as well. And I'm just like, bro, kitchen is open for business. If Xbox was cooked and y'all are looking at Xbox currently and saying, look at y'all, third party more and more and more, you think that Xbox is like third partying, showing they asked for PlayStation? They know eventually them motherfuckers at PlayStation are gonna be on PC too. That's who they really show an ass to is them Steam numbers. That's what they show an ass to. PlayStation had to show ass to it as well when they pulled out with that Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2, Sony pulled that skirt all the way above the knee and said, come get yourself a peek.
All right. Okay. On that
So
note, man.
you know what I'm saying, bro? Like
Yes, we are aware.
now the last one here is Nintendo. Because now we're seeing not only are we seeing Sony dabble a little bit with PC, but you see it gave a little Nintendo a slice. Like now it's insanity. Right? That's when Xbox was insane, right? Is once you seen that first game go over to Xbox, you're like, whoa, what? Excuse me, sir. Well, what's the difference right now?
So
It's just
have
a little slower. It's just slower.
the reason why, in my opinion, a lot of PlayStation diehards are saying that this is different, right? The PlayStation putting their games on Xbox is sorry, PlayStation putting their games on PC is different than Xbox putting their games on PC. Is that Xbox is putting their games on PC, Nintendo, and PlayStation. So what happens is, and this is probably something I'm going to do, right? Um, with time, what's going to happen is games like Indiana Jones, for
Mm.
example.
The thing is, it started with PC though. Remember
I understand that,
years
Ham.
ago.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, and this is just me extrapolating, right? I'm extrapolating what's probably going to happen. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But I think what I'm about to extrapolate is what a lot of people are extrapolating, and that's why the Series X is still lagging in sales to the Xbox One. Because a lot of people are seeing this and they're like, okay, so I just have to buy a PS5 and I'll have the PlayStation games and the Xbox games. Remove the fanboys from the equation, Ham. Remove those guys. Those guys are out their minds.
Well, well,
Okay, in
right
the
now
head.
that's the only ones that are talking right now is us. To be honest,
Talking
because
about what?
because we've yet to see any actual data of Xbox having their own console and having games come out and people just like what I'm saying is let's look at it at the beginning of a new generation and then kind of go divvy it from there.
But we
Because I
can
think
tell.
you'd have to kind of I feel like you'd have to kind of like I don't know, I feel like they kind of started themselves out with this generation with just not really having anything ready on time. And by the time they have anything ready, now you go to the store to go get an Xbox, and what happens? You can't get one right now. You can't get a Series X right now.
I don't know where you're looking, bruv. In Mozambique, you can get them, but
I don't know what you mean. Now you don't know where I'm looking. I'm telling you, it's hard to find a Series X right now. You think I'm tripping,
in the
but it's
whole
not.
U.S., in the whole U.S.,
When I tried to find one just a little bit ago, it
yeah.
was like $700-800 at Walmart.
And they only jack up prices when people are buying. Is that how it works that side?
No, I think they're sold out at a lot of different places right now. Like Amazon right now, it's they're selling for $615.
Okay. That okay. So that's not sold out though. That just means the prices are up.
No, that means they're being scalped.
Okay, so we're not talking about actual stores. We're talking about scalpers. But in
Well, if
actual
they're be,
stores,
if they're being scalped, that's coming up for Amazon initially. It's usually because it's not easy to find it at the regular price.
okay. So my whole point on this topic is I don't think you have to wait for the next generation. I think you can look at what's currently happening and then extrapolate for the future. Because what's happening now, what's going to change going into the future? Nothing really. Xbox is going to continue to deliver great games, yes, but they're also, like Phil just said in the interview, they're also going to make sure everyone's playing. So if everyone's playing, right, and I'm looking at myself, for example, right, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, next gen comes through 2028. I'm probably just going to buy the PS5 because that's probably like all the games are going to go there except for Nintendo games, which I don't care about. I haven't played a Nintendo game in like, I would be lying because I played Astral Chain. But I haven't played most Nintendo games. Like I mean, I've barely touched Nintendo for decades now. I think a lot of people will be doing what I'm going to do, if is that if you want a console, it's probably going to be the PS5 because you're going to get all the PS5 games and the Xbox games. Right now, we're looking at Indy 5 is like what, 6 months, 9 months, 2, 3 years from now, it's going to be the same thing as what's happening with PlayStation games going to PC. They started off with 2 years after launch, then it went to PC. 1 year, and then 6 months, and then day one um, for live service games. And who knows what's going to happen with the next single player PlayStation game? We might have the next day one in 2027. So looking at that, I think it's fairly reasonable to extrapolate, like except for people like you, Ham, that are like super invested in the ecosystem. You got like 3-5 thousand games. A lot of people don't have that much investment into these consoles, and they'll just switch to PlayStation because of the cost of buying one console and missing out on certain things. It's a better proposition. I'm not saying the PS6 is a better proposition in terms of hardware. I'm talking about in terms of games because that's what people want the consoles for. if you can buy a box and then you get all the games on that box, and then you can buy another box, but you don't get all the games on that box, they're more or less the same price. You're gonna go for the game that gives you all the games. Yes? Or am I crazy? Um,
Just 1 second.
all right. Ty, what Ham's checking? What
Okay,
is,
What's
so
poppin'?
no, I
okay, hold on,
disagree.
hold on. Okay, okay.
And you know why?
Yeah.
How many games did the Xbox 360 come out with?
I don't know.
2,154
Day one or total?
total.
Okay.
Guess how much the PS3 had?
Less games? Ham?
It will be more because of Japan.
Hello, Ham? I think you're muted.
Can you
Ham?
hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 yes,
All right,
yes.
yeah, I think my mic is like dying. But
I think
anyways,
it's
no, 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 my mic is actually it keeps shutting off. I'm noticing. Um,
ooh.
but no, did you hear how many I told you the PlayStation had?
No, no, we didn't. You cut off.
I said 5,155 for the PS3.
5,000.
5,155
Okay.
to the Xbox 360's 2,154.
Yeah. And Xbox had the lead in that gen until the very end when PlayStation won out. But your
Mm.
point is,
You said the console that has every single game, right?
yeah, yeah.
Keep in mind, Square Enix has came out and other developers have came out and said, "Hey, we're going to start shipping everywhere now. We're tired of just shipping just to either PlayStation or just shipping to a singular place. Trying to go more third party, essentially." And
Okay.
Xbox, of course, have said, well, we need to figure out, because this last generation didn't work the best as for working with development of developers. Now, if they came and made a product that was easy to develop on, easy to develop on, like the 360 was, which is a big reason why the 360 was popular for video game makers, especially seeing that they have like 30 plus studios now, and now they can understand what people need to make their video games, especially being in the new wave. I think you might be surprised on what could come compared to thinking, oh, it's figured out now. This generation, kind of told us everything that we need to know and we're moving on and it's over. Well, I mean, damn, I'm glad Nintendo didn't listen to you because they would have been ass. They would have been down. They would have never came back. So like, and I hear what you're saying about, oh, well, but their games are kind of everywhere and these games aren't everywhere. And my thing is like, still, you got to have a device that's easy for people to work on, accessible for people to be able to get, and I don't know, fun at the end of the day, because that's why we play video games and whatnot. So I think every generation kind of tells its own story. And to just think, next generation hasn't started, but why even start it? I'm not getting their hardware the next generation. What's the point? Well, my thing is like, I don't know, man. They said they're coming out with hardware, and if they're saying they're coming out with hardware after doing all of this, I'm interested in what the hell that hardware is. Because that sounds kind of wild, but
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
It
I'm also
might be.
interested. All right. Ty,
Because he
What,
did
what,
say
what-
in his interview, particular,
yeah,
just to
yeah.
reiterate, he did say in his interview, while you're also saying, hey, he came out and said all of this
Hmm.
about, the games and whatnot. I don't know what the incentive is. He literally told you, well, in our hardware that we make, we're gonna have to give you a reason
Yeah, that was
to
actually the
come over
next.
here.
That was the next article that we're going to look at, where Phil Spencer explains why you should buy an Xbox in the future. We're going to look into that one, definitely, definitely. Ty, so to Ham's point, do you have anything to rebut? And also, how do you feel about Starfield potentially going to PlayStation? Are you for it, against it, indifferent?
If you're a fan of Xbox and you enjoy the console war and all that kind of stuff, then you'll be against this. If you're a fan of just video games, or if you're a fan of Starfield, then you want more people to play these games. You want more people to enjoy it. You want more people to talk about it on Reddit or wherever it is. And I think that's the direction Microsoft is going into now. It's not about Xbox per se. It's about how do we get these games, these studios, these IPs to grow, and how do we expand them. And the truth is, a lot of this is just coming down to finance. So I think in the quote that you said, Phil says, what we'll find, sorry, it says, what we find is we're able to drive a better business that allows us to invest in a great game lineup like you just saw. That's a strategy. So he's saying this approach that we're taking allows you to get multiple games, more than ever. If we didn't take this approach, you would get less games, less product. I have an example here. Fallout 76. In the ABK leaks, Phil Spencer stated, I could read it out, but he says, I don't know why I feel different about Fallout 76. So open to conversation here. In my view, Fallout 76 is an interesting place. Team stays focused on improving and finding larger audience. Feels like we either need to see this thing getting 10 million monthly active users or decide
Oof.
to move on from it. Now they drop it on PlayStation now, and it gets those numbers. And recently, I believe Fallout 76 has this year, or sorry, last year, I think it got an additional 2 million numbers. This is a clear example of Xbox saying, this game isn't doing enough for us. And the only way we can, turn it into a profit is if we put it somewhere else. They did that. That resulted in Fallout 76 getting more support, which then helped their user base. And that fan base is happy because they get more for your DLCs, the game survives and lives, and Microsoft makes more money. That money goes into Game Pass and other contents that they want to create. So there's a reality here that people need to probably just reconcile with, that the more studios they have, it's not enough to put it into one place on PC. You need to put it everywhere. And when it goes everywhere, we're going to see more content. So the example we were talking about earlier was South of Midnight. There's a reason why we all said, yeah, that should be on PlayStation, that should be on PC, that should be on Switch, that should be on Xbox, that should be on Game Pass. Because if it goes to all those places, we know that that team's gonna make enough money to potentially make a South of Midnight Part Two. We want these kind of games, but if the audience isn't there because it's siloed to one platform, then these games die off. And I don't think any of us want that. So yeah, I'm in favor of what Phil is doing and what he said.
In favor of games everywhere. This guy. This
Now,
guy.
now I want him to clarify something while he's here.
All right.
Do you are you in favor of this for gaming in general? Are you in favor for this for Xbox? What would you think if you were asked, "Hey, PlayStation wants to know if you think this is a good idea for them to do too?"
I'm in favor of this happening for gaming in general. Um, however,
That's interesting.
I
I
think
mean,
the
obviously, PlayStation is on a different They're kind of still very traditional
Hmm.
and very much trying to. I wouldn't even say if they're very much even trying to stick to it because they're peeling a little bit. Nintendo's only one steadfast, but PlayStation's definitely kind of playing around, and it's kind of weird. And they're playing around a little faster than Microsoft did. Because when Microsoft went to PC, they went to PC and they didn't put a game on the PlayStation for a long time. And PlayStation trying stuff quickly though. They went to PC and they're like, oh, let's try this on Nintendo real quick. They taste testing really fast, but they ain't fully investing like Microsoft is, and that's really weird but interesting to watch.
To answer the question, I'm in favor of everyone more or less doing this share, but I understand that the market is a little bit difficult. So, for example, I know Xbox's situation, so it makes sense for them to do this. I think them doing it the traditional way doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't yield benefits, so you might as well adapt. And if there's anything that's more irritating than a company making mistakes, it's a company that fails to adapt. So Xbox, perfect, do it. I'm completely on board with that. Sony should do it too. However, because I think we all would prefer a situation where, as Phil said, we are deciding to buy consoles based on the console itself, not based on the games. For example, you're buying an NVIDIA graphics card over an AMD one because of the technology behind it, not the games, right? The reason why Nintendo shouldn't really do it is because, well, I mean, eventually they should, but I'm okay with Nintendo not doing anything because they kind of occupied this niche where they make quirky consoles. If at any point in time Nintendo goes third party to stop, publishing their games on PlayStation or Xbox, that is the end of the Nintendo console, like full stop. Because they can't compete from a technological standpoint. So I think that's them done. So I'm okay with the way this everything is. It makes sense for everyone to be where they are. I'll even go further and says it makes sense for Sony to still um, gatekeep some games from Xbox, even though they're not competing, because they need to be very careful because this is, PlayStation means a lot more to Sony than Xbox means to Microsoft. And Nintendo needs to be especially careful because if if the consoles goes away, um, Nintendo could get really hurt there. If PlayStation goes away, Sony's still okay. Microsoft is definitely okay if Xbox goes away. So I think every single one of these companies are in a unique position where they can afford to do certain things. And Microsoft is in a position where they're allowed, or sorry, like it's okay. It makes sense for them to do what they're doing right now.
Ham, does that answer your question? Ham? What the hell? Mishi says Sony should put their games on Xbox. Xbox dudes only want games on Game Pass. Oh, man. If exclusivity doesn't exist, you'd have consistent 60 FPS. It's a good point, Torian. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it would stand up, but it's an interesting point.
I disagree with his Mish's take about Xbox dudes only wants games on Game Pass. It's such a I hear this narrative so much, and I'm always like, where is the evidence for this? And there's never any evidence to suggest that Xbox guys don't buy games or Xbox guys are only playing games on Game Pass. Like it's just not true.
There's just less players on Xbox. That's really
That
all it is.
that is really it. Yeah, that's it. There's
The
no
people,
Xbox. There's no Xbox gamer who says I'm not buying Elden Ring because I have Game Pass. Like this is just not. This doesn't happen. Like
yeah.
it's just silly. Cyberpunk. Oh well, I have Game Pass. I ain't gonna buy Cyberpunk. Like, what do you mean? If you want a game, you're going to go buy a game. Now, if you want to argue that, well, if you have a back catalog of games. You don't buy new games, and Game Pass can act as that back catalog. Yeah, there's some argument there with some caveats, but the idea that Xbox gamers are not buying games is just not true.
Yeah. Whenever I see that argument of, ooh, X game sold, I don't know, 12 million on PlayStation, 4 million on Xbox, I'm like, yeah, look at their respective player bases. It only makes sense. It's going to sell less there because there's less people. But having to explain arithmetic to grown adults it's it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
Not only
Uh,
that, look, but another thing to that is some of these people probably have a PS5 and an Xbox Series S. So some of these third party games they rather purchase it on the PS5 console. The Series S for them is a Game Pass machine. So you can't even count those users who are not who have an Xbox because they're not primarily Xbox buying consumers. They're PlayStation buying consumers and use Game Pass. I should know this because I have a friend who literally buys his games on PS5 and his Series S is literally just a Game Pass machine.
because he tests stuff out, then he goes to buy it if he likes it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
He would like play Starfield on the Series S, so he wouldn't buy whatever it is. He just that's just his Game Pass machine. But if a game like FIFA comes out, he's not buying it on Xbox. He's buying it on PlayStation.
yeah, yeah. For me, before I moved to PC, Game Pass literally was my taste maker. When
Mm,
I'd see something interesting, I'm going to try it, and then I'm buying it on the Xbox, right? If I like it, because like the only games, and this is me being like 1,000% honest. As soon as they said, right? Oh my God, Ron Slasher, OnlyFans is an Xbox. Okay, as soon as Xbox said BBW is an Xbox, Mishi, chill. As soon as Xbox said all first-party games will be day one on Xbox and they'll never leave the service, I was like, cool. I'm not buying any more first party games on Xbox anymore because I'm subbed. I'm subbed to Game Pass forever. If I'm being honest, I'm subbed forever, bruv. Like I don't
mm,
even know when that thing ends. That's that's how much I have committed to Game Pass. So what I do now is I'll try out like the Yakuza. When I tried the Yakuza game, I was like, oh, cool, cool, cool. Then I went and bought the series because it's never on Game Pass.
mm,
Like the whole thing and other new stuff I'll try, like it, buy it, keep it pushing. But as far as first party is concerned, I don't buy it because it's never going to leave Game Pass anyway, unless I really really like it.
mm.
Like like the Halo collection, for example, I'm going to buy that on Steam eventually because it's Halo, right? But like Indiana Jones, I'll just play that on the Xbox and keep it pushing.
Yeah,
Not a problem for me. South of Midnight, that that's a game I'm going to buy on Steam. Um, Hi-Fi Rush, another one I'm going to buy on Steam. You know what I mean? So
hmm
it's like, okay, so I lied when I said I don't buy first party. What I do is the first party needs to be awesome, and then I'll buy it. Third party games that I try on Game Pass and I like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go buy it. Like Remnant. Oh, I had such a good time. I was like, I'm going to buy that. But first party is like you need to be special, and then I'll go buy it. Otherwise, I'll just keep
Uh,
subbing to Game Pass, play it, and keep it pushing.
for
Ham,
me,
you fixed your
I,
mic?
yeah, no, I was just saying, I don't know why you're buying all those on Steam. I can't. I don't know. For me,
Because
I'd
that's
buy
where I'm
anything
at,
on
bro.
Xbox, I guess. But I guess that's I guess I understand why people say that to me because Steam's kind of the same thing. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it just doesn't have Game Pass on it, and to me, I want it all in the same network. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, but the whole thing is Xbox does need to make sure that they have their stuff overhauled over to PC properly.
Exactly.
But
That's what I
once
was
they
going to
do
say,
that,
Ham.
I don't want to be partially invested in something else. And that's why I'm just kind of just sticking with what I am because like if they come out in a year or two from now and say, "All right, well, your entire library continuing from what you've been buying is now accessible. I don't want there to be $500-$600 over on Steam that I'm just never really touching, where it feels like, man, I wish I would have just got those over here because
Mm.
they're there anyways. Or they
And
stayed on Game Pass the entire time and they didn't leave until a couple years later or something like that, and then I buy it or something. I don't know.
so my issue with Microsoft on PC, we've spoken about this, Ham. PC Game Pass doesn't even
Oh yeah,
work
I
properly.
forget about that for you, man. It's
Yeah,
totally different for you, so you can't even take advantage of that situation. I forget
exactly.
about that. I
So
forget about
even
that.
if I wanted to transition, I think it was, who was it that said that? I think it was the Black Viking. Someone said it on Twitter that the next thing Microsoft needs to sort out for the next generation that will make them a truly special place, they need to find a way to properly integrate the console and PC and make play everywhere or play anywhere, make it 100%. Figure out how much that's going to cost you with the publishers or developers or whatever. Make it 100%. Make it so Loke in Mozambique, who has, I don't have many games, I think I have like 600 games, right, on Xbox. This guy that bought these games on Xbox, if he turns on his PC and then goes to his Xbox app on his PC, all of those games are there. Figure out how to make that happen. And my guy, you can compete with Steam. You
Oh,
can go
100%.
toe, you can go toe to motherfucking toe, but you need to make it work properly. The app, even the app itself is finicky. Even when Game Pass, when PC Game Pass was working in Mozambique, I think it was 2020 or something, it was still very finicky and shaky. But if they can figure out how to make play anywhere like 100% between the console and the PC, and then also make it a stable app, yes, then we're cooking. Then we're really cooking. Ham, finish off because I want to get Oshis in here.
Oh my goodness. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
No, no, no. That was it.
All right, Oshis, go ahead. Oshis, are you still awake? He muted himself.
Yo,
Unmute yourself, gentlemen. All right, what
the thing
what,
is,
what are
I've
you?
got most audio problems.
What? Are you,
Yeah. So,
go
what's
ahead.
the question? You guys are talking about Xbox.
Starfield, highly likely going to PlayStation. Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you indifferent? And also to Ham's first point or earlier on, your general outlook on like Xbox for the next gen.
Starfield. I don't. I think if you asked me this question maybe like last year, I would have a different answer. But right now, I don't care. Like, it's not really my primary platform. I have no sort of like attachment like that to Xbox and what they do with their franchises anymore. So putting on PlayStation makes business sense to me. Why is it not on PlayStation yet? Escapes me. They should have done that when they launched the expansion. Why they're still taking their time with it is again one of these things where I say I don't understand like the strategy. They say one thing and then they act the other way. So yes, definitely it should have been on. I mean, wasn't Phil quoted of saying like the reason he bought Bethesda because he wanted Starfield to be on Xbox? Now he can put it back where it was supposed to be in the first place. So yeah, happy with that decision. In terms of Xbox's entire strategy, I don't have the same sort of kumbaya, sort of optimistic um, perspective in terms of like where Xbox is currently and Microsoft is. I think Xbox as what we know as people who grew up with Xbox, the consoles, Xbox One, Xbox 360, Xbox uh, One again, but yeah, I think that I think that's gone. Like the console is dead. Like forget about when you talk about Xbox, that's gone. What we're seeing now is it's evolving into Microsoft gaming, which is going to be publisher first. So it's all about our titles and having as many people play our titles. Because when we talk about like gaming and Microsoft and Xbox specifically, like how do they even like people keep saying, well, yeah, it all makes business sense. It's financial. Like, first of all, you don't even know how Xbox measures success. They don't release sales numbers. You don't know how many consoles they've sold definitively because they'll never give you that information. They made a decision not to do that. And guess what else they decided not to do that with, I think, from 2020? That's Game Pass numbers. They don't release Game Pass numbers anymore. The last one that we have was like 33 million of
Mm-hmm.
around 40.
33,000.
Sorry,
Yo.
it was between 33 million and about 40, I think, but it was under 40. It was around that mark. And after that, they don't anymore. Whenever they do their annual reports, they do not release Game Pass numbers in terms of player numbers. And to me, that sort of says to me, then you cannot tell me that, like, their whole aim of doing this stuff is because of the fact that they care, or they still measure, or or you understand financials in terms of like, this is why they're doing this, is because financially it makes sense to them. You don't know. You do not understand. Their measuring of success in gaming is so abstract that I don't think any of us understand in terms of like what they're aiming for. So I don't think anyone can put that argument out there and say, well,
Cautious, I
they're
think they
doing this for
can
money.
though, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about it this way. Everything you've said is accurate, yeah. But what if a company is doing well with Game Pass numbers? Why wouldn't they say it? If they're doing well with console numbers, why wouldn't they say it? If we actually look at the numbers in terms of points, ABK ever since they purchased them made up, I think, 80% of Xbox's profit margins or revenue, right? That's a large number to talk about. So if the company you've just purchased is primarily driving your revenue, that company's way of making money is to be everywhere. If you
No,
were to then turn around and then say, okay, well, we're gonna make all ABK games Xbox exclusive, well, that 80% drops down to like 40. I mean, we
no, but
saw
like,
Mhm.
yeah. So like, my only counter to you is that, again, like ABK, how they measure like their success and how Bethesda measures their success is still the same. It's not changed. What I'm saying to you is that even before that deal was final, like the last announcement, I think it's before the deal was closed, and they made it clear that they were not going to announce Game Pass numbers going forward. Like, and they've not given, and they will not comment on Game Pass numbers. What I'm saying to you is that that's got nothing to do with ABK and the fact that ABK, they'll tell you how much ABK made, they'll tell you how much a Bethesda game sold. And the thing is, they measure things now according to player counts and all these abstract things that we do not have like a definitive sort of like, well, because you've got so many players, we can guarantee that you're making this amount of money. So I'm saying how they calculate things currently is
My
something
goodness.
that we, as the layman, do not understand. They know based on their targets, which they don't share with us, the public. So I
Yeah,
don't want to
but
comment on their success in terms of whether they're successful there or not.
yeah,
But
but
I'm
we
just
can we
saying,
can we can we can look at the
yeah,
way they move, and we can say, okay, fine, based on this is not good, right? So let's say Hi-Fi Rush, for example, they closed on that studio. That game had like 3 million players on Game Pass, and I think people were able to estimate that like it probably didn't even sell 1 million players on Steam. So people were able to kind of come to the conclusion that sales wise, I mean, most of the player base came from Game Pass, and based on the reports from what the director said, that he was like, this game wasn't a cheap game. It's not a double A game. So he's kind of hinted at triple A like. So once again, we could come to some kind of conclusion that a three
but
million
you're
player base.
speculating.
Yeah, but that's all.
So when is
But
3
that's all he has to
million
do, though.
successful or not success? And the reason I'm interrupting you, Ty, is because I just want to make these points before we move on to the next point.
Actually, go ahead. Yeah, finish your
Yeah,
point.
yeah. So like we can all estimate, and like I think Loke likes to say this, we can all speculate and we can all estimate. All I'm saying is that we do not have a definitive understanding of like what they measure. This is the thing I don't like about like Phil's like speeches, because he never gives direct metrics in terms of like, well, this is how we judge whether or not a game has been successful. He'll give like a very long explanation for that. But moving on to the next point, going back to this whole thing of like, is this now good or great for gaming? Personally, I do not know, because again, Xbox is trying things here that have not been tried before. Nintendo's business model has been proven, tested, it works. They've been doing it for decades. Everybody understands that business model. Sony's current business model has worked up until they tried to pivot and be like Xbox and do all these live services. It's worked for them. They were able to, at the back of that, be successful with the PS4. And in the beginning of the PS5 generation, they were able to double down on that. So now I'm not sure where they're pivoting towards, but I'm just
Listen,
saying that
watch it.
they're using.
No,
Let me just
no.
finish my point, and then you guys can then, yeah.
Riding a
So,
horse worked until someone came up with a car. This business
yes,
of just because
no, but like
something worked, we
it
break
doesn't
now,
mean that
we
just
have to
because you have a
stay
bright
stuck there.
idea, Yeah, but it doesn't mean that just because you have a brain fart that you think is a bright idea, it's going to necessarily work either.
It doesn't mean we should not
Because I'm sure
explore
somebody came up with a
different
square wheel
spheres.
and said the round one was not good enough. So
Cautious,
all I'm saying,
cautious. Someone
yeah,
still had to come up with the square
yes.
wheel, and then someone else iterated on said square wheel. What we cannot do is stagnate just because we're
Well,
comfortable with
it's
how
fine.
the
But
industry
again,
works.
I can't speak for them. Like I'm not an organization. I'm a gamer. So what they're
True.
doing and what
True.
they think is gonna work for them, I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself as the guy that buys the stuff. So I'm saying I don't understand those business models as a gamer. I understand sorry, their business model currently as a gamer, which is why I can't invest in their ecosystem and like in the way that like in terms of hardware, because I don't see the numbers behind that. But I will definitely buy their services because Microsoft is historically good at services. Game Pass, great service, but it's the only thing that they have in gaming, aside from, let's say, like for instance, a strong third party lineup of games. It's Game Pass, and it's the fact that they have all these IPs now and they have all these big. That I can get behind because I understand how it works. Okay, the last point I wanted to make was in terms of just stronghold. If I look at console, and I'm talking about like the home space, like the living room, that's dominated by Sony. It's been like that for over 3 decades now. You go to PC, slowly PC has transitioned. People are not warm to Steam when it first came out, but
Yeah.
Steam has become dominant in that space right now. It's like you can't touch speed. When you talk about PC gaming, it's now synonymous with Steam. You go to mobile gaming, Nintendo dominates that market or that segmentation. Xbox has no dominance in any segmentation except the fact that they own the most studios, which I understand why they want to publish their games everywhere. All I'm saying is that for them to have me believe in any of these visions, they need to be good at something. They're not good at PC gaming. They've never been. They've been in it longer than anyone else. They're still not good at it. They're still struggling. Windows games failed and was beaten by services that came after. They're not good at console gaming. They came close once to being very good at it with the 360, and that was Peter Moore. After that, nothing. Now they're now pivoting to a mobile device. They've never been good at that space, period. So I'm saying they're trying a lot of things, but I can't get behind any of those things because historically they've not given me any evidence to believe that they can be good or they can excel in any of those things. And then last point I want to make is just in terms of exclusivity, because everybody wants to talk about or minimize the importance of exclusivity. This whole model, in my understanding, that Phil Spencer has built is based around Netflix and Netflix's success. Netflix's entire business model is based around having exclusive content that can only be watched on Netflix. You'll never find it on HBO Max, you'll never find it on Disney Plus. Same with Disney Plus. Disney Plus is there's so many things that Disney, after they bought Fox, that they own now that is just exclusive to their streaming network. Same with HBO and all their big brands. All those streaming services are built around exclusive services or exclusive movies, series, content. You building a platform that has no exclusive software and then you saying you're going to sell me on hardware is going to be the first. I want to see this. I want Phil to prove me wrong, but I've never seen that in the history of content creation where you're going to have hardware that has no software that's exclusive to your platform and you think that your hardware is going to be successful.
I don't know how many times I have to yell Google at you.
Oh, here we go. Go ahead, Am.
No, I mean that's it. Like, what else do you want me to say? Google is
Well, but like, I
literally
mean,
Google literally made a whole business out of it and gets in trouble for blocking anybody because they have they have such a heavy foot put
but
down.
my thing is like, so is Xbox then emulating Google's model when they're building Game Pass? Or are they emulating Netflix model or the HP? Because the whole thing of like game streaming or like having a cloud based service that allows you to access these games is, in my understanding, based on those streaming models where like you have a Netflix like service that offers you very specific
Game
set of
Pass is the same
entertainment.
thing as cloud streaming is. It's just another service.
But that's the
Like
thing,
like like like
but
like all of this is another service. It's providing a service for something. When
okay,
you
so
when they sell you a console, they're providing you a service through a service.
okay, so can I ask you a question about Google, Ham? What services do you buy from Google?
What services do I buy from Google?
Yes. What do you
Well,
subscribe to? What do you buy? What is it that
YouTube
you
right now.
transact?
YouTube right now is one thing that I am consistently subscribed to, and that's owned
Okay.
by Google.
Fair enough. Like, but that's because a lot of us have Google by osmosis because we need to use Google, but nobody goes out and says, makes an informed decisions to say, well, you know what, I'm going to go buy a Google. What is that thing that they released? That was a game machine that failed.
Stadia.
Stadia. Like nobody associates Google with things that you want to buy. Like you have to think about subscribing to Netflix. A lot of people are having that dilemma because they're raising the price again. So you have to have a reason to be on Netflix. And no one says, well, I'm on Netflix because it just has the most entertainment. It has the most entertainment that's not available anywhere.
Well,
Every
so you're
week they're
saying
giving you a
so
new
you're saying
movie.
you buy an Xbox to use to get the game. So
Yes.
I'm confused.
Exclusive content to Xbox. And Xbox is saying, well, we don't need exclusive content. We are going to put
What they said is they don't need to have barriers up, but I'm assuming that not all games are going to come on time at every single place. Just like like Netflix will have a TV show for 6 or 8 months, and then all of a sudden Hulu got it too. All of a sudden somebody else has it
well,
too. And
No,
somebody
not
else has it
I
too.
think
not original
all the
content.
games, all the games are gonna go. I think
Yeah.
as soon as he says ring, no, there's no ring fence number one, and as soon as it says there's no
Well, I'm not saying that all
there's
the
no red
games
line.
wouldn't. I'm not saying that all the games wouldn't. I'm saying like who's to say that they all would come out at the same time?
Do you know why I think
I
that's
think a
even?
lot of them will, but like, but like, look at Indiana Jones for
People
like,
will
like
wait.
look at Indiana Jones. Well, I'm not advocating for what's like reason to buy. That's not what we're just talking about. Or are we?
I think what's gonna happen here is
We're just
a
talking about what are
game.
they doing?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is this, just like how Sony's window for the PC ports are getting smaller, the ports for the Xbox is going to get smaller too. And Jez mentioned that and even my buddy confirmed that the only reason why Indiana Jones is not a PlayStation is not because they wanted to do some kind of time delay. It was more of a technical issue. They're like, yeah, we didn't have enough resources to make the PlayStation 5 version, so we decided to focus on the Xbox version first. As soon as all
What's
these
the difference
studios,
between? But okay, so what's the difference between that and Black Myth Wukong?
I don't understand the question really.
No. I'm just saying, Black Myth Wukong released on to PlayStation because it was ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Xbox is going to be like, whoa, PlayStation's not ready yet. Let's not release the game.
But like, sorry, I just want to answer Dorian.
Hold
asked a
on,
very good
what?
question.
Ham, run that back.
He just got done telling me that Indiana Jones did not release on the PlayStation at the same time because there was some sort of limitation or problem with making said game onto that platform.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is the exact same kind of thing we heard Baldur's Gate say, the same thing that we heard Black Myth Wukong say about Xbox, right?
Okay.
So the game came out, but it came out later.
Yeah, but
Because it
I'm
wasn't ready.
specifically saying that for Xbox, that my booty and what from Phil is saying is that we're not looking at Xbox gamers as some type of preference. We're saying that if given the possibility, these games will drop everywhere, day one.
That's fine with me.
That's kind of what they're hinting at. That's what Phil is saying. That's what my booty, because Indiana Jones is the key one for me. Because we knew it was a 3 month, delay. So I just assumed Xbox is trying to, Xbox gamers, you guys get a privilege of 3 months. But then my booty says, no, that wasn't it. It's just we didn't have the technicals to do it. So I was like, okay, if Indiana Jones, which is your biggest game of like from a first party perspective, not ABK, is going to be, if you're telling me that that's going to be multi-plat, then yeah, I think that's it. I think every game is going to go eventually. South of Midnight, same thing. Compulsion was probably just a small studio. They didn't have enough resources to make PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, so they just focus on Xbox and PC. I think that's pretty much what's going to be happening. So I'm kind of actually in agreement with Oshus. I mean, I disagree with a lot of things he said, but when he says that, like, all these games are going everywhere, I'm fully in agreement with that. These games are going everywhere, every single where.
Um, and like, just my one last thing is that, like, so what happens to Sony in this instance? Because what's happening now, the Sony that we're seeing, it's not gonna get better. Sony is notorious. Whenever Sony is in a position of power, like they were after the PS2, like they were after the PS4, they're incredibly arrogant in their business practices. We've seen this historically. So what's going to happen with Sony now when they have a primary competitor who's way wealthier than them, handing them all their games handled? Do you think Sony's going to make the same effort to give you AAA games and experiences, especially after they're complaining about the cost to make those games?
They, I think they will, because I think you said a lot of truths, but you miss out context in a lot of your statements. So
The
in this,
context is yours, ne?
yeah, I'm the truth seeker here. Like for example, when you said Xbox is trying to emulate Netflix, yeah, I mean like that's partly true, but then because they sell their products as well, buy them, that you can actually buy them in the shop, it's very different. Netflix can say if you want to watch Stranger Things, the only place you can get Stranger Things is a subscription. Xbox can't say that. You have to be able to buy it, right? And because you can buy it, the subscription suffers. Because there's a subscription, buying it also suffers. The actual sales suffers. So it's not really the same as Netflix. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Netflix can. There's no loyalty to Netflix, right? So we can kind of remove that kind of fandom away. Nobody looks at Netflix and says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to fight for Netflix." But people have this kind of console centric view of like, yeah, let's do battle. Nintendo's my guy, whatever, all that kind of shit. So yeah, so there's that aspect. But the key difference here is Netflix is everywhere. Your mobile phone, your PC, your laptop, all these places. So it's easy to subscribe. If you told me right now that I had to go buy a device to use Netflix,
I'm out.
that's a really hard sell
But
to
isn't
me.
that what
I'm out.
Microsoft is saying? That you can, Microsoft is Xbox is everything now, Ty. What are you talking about? Like,
But the key thing here is because cloud hasn't taken off to the way it should be, at least not yet. They're limited because PCs run by Steam. They're limited, and because consoles run by
I agree.
PlayStation, they're limited. So it's very different. If let's say cloud streaming was the number one thing, you could download. You could go on your TV right now and download Xbox or the Xbox app. Yeah, Xbox will be winning 100%. But that's not that's not what it is right now. PlayStation is the dominant console provider.
Exactly.
Um,
Yes.
Cloud isn't really there, and
Yes.
PC is Steam.
100%.
So they're in a position where they can't really compete in the way they want to until the technology improves. So I think you kind of missed that nuance there a little bit.
No, but the thing is, I didn't miss the nuance. Phil missed the nuance because if you're in a position where you don't have this
Settle
absolute
That's actually a
down.
good
certainty,
comeback.
Settle down.
That's a good
Still
comeback.
miss the nuance. All right.
yes, because he's say, like what he's
I might
saying
have
is
to stop you
exactly
right there.
like what Taye is saying is 100% true.
They don't commit to anything. You ever heard of it? Wait, what about Game Pass? Game Pass is going to turn 10 years in about 3 years. That's not commitment for you?
Apart from Game Pass, I
No,
think Ash is
no,
actually
no,
correct.
no. I still remember parts of those emails. That deadline is for the next like major review of Game Pass. It's not to say that if they don't, yeah, it's not to say that if they don't hit the was it 40-45 million mark that was set in the email or the discussions. It's not to say that if they don't hit that, then automatically they're done with it. That's just the target. 2027 is when they're going to do an in-depth review. So let's chill on that one. It wasn't funny when the meme popped up. It's still not funny now.
I agree with Oshus when he says that Phil probably missed the mark, and I think the evidence is that they probably expected way more PC users, they probably expected way more console sales, and they expected way more Game Pass sales, and they probably expected way more cloud use. I think in every single metric they're behind. So I think I should agree with Oshus. They overestimated um, everything. Like I don't think that, I don't think there's a metric that they can say, oh, back in 2019 we actually surpassed this metric. I don't think that's true.
Oshus, I think you're muted. You're muted, Oshus, for some reason. Ah, okay. I got it. I got it. I got it. Hold
Yeah,
on.
they said you were muted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold on, hold on. I know what's happening now. Yeah,
Hmm.
we agree. We agree on that one. Everyone did overshoot and over project after
Oshus,
after
Osh-
COVID.
Oshus, I do have a question for you. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you on it. I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
We can do that.
This needs to be the final point because we have to move on to the next topic where
Yeah,
Phil actually explains why we should be getting the next Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
after this topic, I actually got to hop off.
Oh, all right, all right.
Yeah, sure. The question is, we know why Sega left. You know, they looked at the numbers and the numbers weren't there. So the
Hmm.
Dreamcast, they bowed out. When you look at what Xbox is position in the market, and you look at the fact that games like Starfield didn't do the numbers, I think 2023 they actually recorded it was flat, I believe. When
Mm.
you take all these things into considerations, at what point are you the CEO of Xbox that you actually have to start going down this multi-platform approach? Like what do you need to see to almost justify it? I'm asking from a realistic point of view, not from a fan point of view. Realistically, what do you have to see to say, okay, you know what, this makes sense?
That's a very good question. So like,
Wasn't that for Ham? I thought that question was for Ham.
No, Ushers.
All right. But then
so
I
in
also
other
want to
words,
get Ham's take on this one. I'm
so
very
like
curious about this one.
so in other words, what you're saying is that at what point in time was this inevitable? But like, did we think like this like a year ago? Did we
Well,
think Xbox was in a position where they were? Because again, to me, it just feels like whenever they gain momentum, I believe that they could have won this generation in terms of just selling consoles just with Bethesda and just
Yes.
having like Bethesda's output be exclusive. They didn't like the moment you say ABK, like to me it becomes so complicated because of how big that thing is. You cannot run that as a console company. That just muddies the waters too much. I think to me with Bethesda, I understood what Xbox was doing, and I was sure that they could win and beat Sony because that's all I've ever wanted from Xbox is just to beat Sony is they could have done that with just
Oh my
Bethesda
goodness.
and the the likes of your Starfields, your Fallouts, your Elder Scroll. That is enough IP to take out Sony. Right now, to your point, I agree with you completely. There is no ways that you can manage that portfolio with the sort of overheads and expenses that Xbox has without going full multi-platform. That's why I say to you, it's the only way forward. Like, there's no ways you look at that business and you think, well, we're still gonna just the exclusive thing is no longer a conversation you can have at Xbox. You're not gonna have exclusive content. Everything has to go everywhere. It's just not sustainable to do otherwise.
okay.
All right, Ham,
What was the question?
Kai.
At what point, you're the CEO of Xbox Gaming. At what point are you looking at the numbers and saying, okay, we have to pivot. We actually have to go multi-platform. Like, so what Phil Spencer is doing right now, I want to get into people's minds and see, like, just from a realistic point of view, do they think he's just doing this for the sake of doing it? Or can they actually say, you know what, Starfield didn't take off. 2023 wasn't the they didn't really grow when it comes to content and services and consoles. They're looking at the market right now, the future. The same PlayStation as the default console maker. Doesn't matter what we do, we're not going to be able to reach those heights. Let's just put the games everywhere now. At what point does that make sense to you as the Xbox CEO?
Well, really, I think they're just kind of taking the shortcut, if I'm being honest. Um, I feel like they're kind of taking a shortcut to some success, but in in a way, it's kind of not really a shortcut because it's also never been done. So you can't really. So I don't know how you call like is it a shortcut off the side of the mountain if it's a cliff? If you land it, it is. If you don't, you just crash and burn and you're dead. And it's not a shortcut, right? And it kind of feels like that's kind of what they've done, but they kind of did it in a way of having some sort of no matter what type of sustainability. So, sure, do they have the opportunity to stop investing in hardware completely? Sure. But do they want to completely leave it? I'm not sure because they've proven just by being themselves with Microsoft that they've never not had hardware. They've Microsoft as a company has never not had hardware for their software that they support. So when Windows Phone went down, so did its software. But any type of software that you can access right now, you can find something with Windows to access it on. So for them to continue to make games, they're going to continue to make hardware. Are they going to continue to make hardware that's comparable to the competitions? Probably not. And they probably got a good reading out of that with the Series S with it. Um, so they want to make something that's they want to make something that's kind of in their own lane at this point, but they still want to be able to supply massively. So not only do they have to be successful on their own accord, but they could use other people to continue their success.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, that's why I can't help but bring up repeatedly like what Google's doing, right? Like, sure, you can say, "Oh, well, how many products and stuff do people buy from Google and whatever?" Well, if we actually look at it, they sell a lot of stuff. They do. There's a reason that they are in business, and it's not because they're free everywhere. Bigger bigger fish purchase this stuff for us to be able to use, sure, but we pay a subscription to those places to keep that stuff in business. So like the question at hand is like how long until like you really back off, and it's just like really that depends on technology, to be honest, because they're a technology company and they got to stay on top of it. As I just said with everything else, there is no business that's as big as Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, or any of that stuff that has products that where they don't have hardware for them products to make sure that those products work properly. Sure, now does Samsung come through and make a better product out of their software? Sure. But do you remember the last time somebody said go to that Samsung channel? I watched something on Samsung TV. You ain't hearing nobody say that. Samsung has some stuff. They have hardware and no software, pretty much. And what software they do have, everybody says it sucks. Oh, Dex is a big thing to complain about, right? Even though I actually like Dex.
Never heard of Dex.
Samsung Dex, it's like a computer inside of your phone, essentially. I love it. But like a lot of people don't like it. And it is finicky sometimes. So I understand why some people don't like it. But like I don't think they really stop unless like I don't see them really stopping until they are so intertwined with somebody else to where they are making their products for them, essentially.
Damn
So,
wrong.
like, if they were to buy a company or like team up or be permanently with Lenovo or something like that, like, then I could see them being like, all right, we're done. Now we're just certified on this platform to be able to purchase. If you want to rock with us, you're going to have to see us, at the Walgreens. We're sold in Walgreens. Right? Right. I mean, you can get our games anywhere, but if you want to fuck with us and know that you're fucking with us and have the rest of your stuff with us, you're fucking with Walgreens. But I doubt it. I doubt it because I don't know. To me, it's just that they're a massive company, and for that, I'd feel like they'd have to fall pretty bad for something for them to take that drastic of a step back to say, yeah, we invested in all this IP and we're just gonna do video games and not have any hardware to make sure that it runs, even though we figured out how to do it with other products that we serve, being that computers. They still make their own hardware with computers. Amazon still makes tablets. Who loves an Amazon tablet? I tell you what, anytime I bought my daughter an Amazon tablet, it was terrible. But they still sell them. You can still go up to Target and go buy one.
Someone's making money off that.
Somebody is making money off of it. And guess what? Other people are trying to sell their software off of it. And people are like, but it's not as good as Google software. So they just get the Google. I'm telling you, dude. Like, Microsoft is trying to do what Google's doing with that they did with phones, except with games. And you're already saying, oh well, buying. Well, we're starting to see free games. We're starting to see games that you don't have to even pay for. They just take your time. There's plenty of people probably around the world that don't spend a dime on Fortnite. They just play it all the time. And there's a lot of people that I mean, couldn't you imagine it? If you're a little kid, you got an Xbox or whatever, or a PlayStation or a tablet or whatever, and you could play Fortnite, and your parents ain't giving you no motherfucking money.
No, Ham, it's worse than that. Remember the story I told you, the horror story I told you guys about? I have a PS5 at my house. I have a Series S in my house. I have a Series S in my house. These three consoles have their own independent screens with decent internet in my house. I come back from work. Both of my sons are on school holidays. And Ham, they're both on their cell phones playing free gotcha games. That's what the world is turning into in terms of gamers. I know we freaking hate it. Dorian Gray is the one who pointed it out. Console is not growing, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Xbox, whether it's the Switch. It's not growing. These are the same numbers we were talking about 10, 20 years ago. It's mobile and it's PC. And shareholders don't care about maintaining the numbers.
I
Shareholders
mean, it's a fact. It's the
want
same
more.
businesses trying to eclipse the highest number and not really reaching it. And right now, Switch is like, I'm the next one. I'm next.
Well, the Switch did, right? It did beat the PS2.
In America, it did. I don't think it did worldwide.
Ah, yeah. That was just the US.
Yeah. So
Oof.
so that's so when they say it's not growing, technically, yes, it is growing, of course. But is it growing the way that they want to see it grow? When they do year over years at these massive corporations, they want big jumps. They don't want we barely beat the last time or came up short just a little bit. Like they want like that's fire the fucking head coach. Get everybody out the office. We need new people. like, just look at your NFL and basketball teams now. A couple years go by, if y'all ain't winning, somebody's got to go, or the plans change dramatically. And I'm sure that happens I'm sure that happens in your soccer football, your fraudulent football.
Soccer football.
Yeah,
Jesus.
your soccer thing, fraudulent ball.
All right. Yeah, it does happen, Ham. If you don't hit the targets, something has to happen.
I bet they're a
Something
little
has
bit
to
more
happen.
cutthroat actually
Yes.
in football overseas.
Because, dude,
Because
the
it's like
numbers are right there.
You're like bringing shame upon your fucking
Yeah. Yeah, because
upon your fucking country.
With PlayStation or whatever, it's like hidden. No one knows what the reality is on the ground. Do you know what I mean? In football, it's like, no, we know you played 38 matches, you only won 15, and you lost the rest. So, yeah, get the fuck out. It would be
Exactly.
it would be terrible, but it will also be very nice if it could find a way to get proper clarity. None of this kind of stuff where people are estimating how many consoles got sold, how many copies got sold. None of this stuff, like specifics. This is how many consoles were sold. This is how many copies were sold. This is how many people bought it on Steam. This is how many people bought it on GOG, etc., etc. It would be so exciting. It would be so good. I would love it for the gaming industry. That would be the biggest dub. Clarity in the gaming industry. That would be amazing. But yeah, we need to move on to the next topic. Ham, please plug your stuff before you hop on out of her.
Yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I mean, that's how as much as I'm gonna say. Really, I'll see you on this channel tomorrow, 9:30 Eastern. I'll talk to y'all
Let's
later.
go. Let's go. It might be a 1 hour stream. It might be a 7 hour stream. It
You never
is
know.
what it is. Ham
Facts.
has that much fun talking about video games. Y'all make
Peace
sure
out,
to
y'all.
show. Make sure you guys show up. He's live every single day at the same time. So please make sure to come through and support Hamathy. All right, so Ham's out. Um, we need to get to this one. We need to. All right, let's get into Phil Spencer's plan here. Let's do it before we hop off the pod. Phil Spencer explains why you should buy an Xbox in its multi-platform era. We want to win on capabilities. All right then. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Uh, Okay, here's the quotes. I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how that fits into the choices that they want to make about where they want to play. And we want our hardware to win based on the hardware capabilities that we have. I think the difference that we've seen in the last 20 years, and I think this is good because I come from building games, is it's really games first, not platform first. Most of the games that you or I will talk about run across so many different platforms, and those are the games that are having success. Those are the games at the top of the charts. Oh my God, Phil. I can already see Ty and Oshas going at it because of these quotes. I want to build a platform that services those creators, the creators that are trying to meet people on every screen. In the same interview, Spencer reiterated that Xbox intends to release more of its games on more platforms in the future, but he also emphasized that the brand has a future in hardware. Microsoft first announced last February that it's actively working on its next gen console. Back to the quotes, he said, let's say it. Our own hardware, I think it's fundamental about what Xbox is. It's not lost to me that box is in the name of our brand. In the position that I'm in, I look at hardware as a critical part of what we do. but we're not trying to gatekeep the games off of other places for the benefit of it. Let's go build innovative hardware that people want to use to play, whether that's in their hands, whether it's on the television, or even other places, he added. And I love our hardware team. I spent some time with them just this week, uh, looking at the roadmap that they have. I think we're learning a lot from this, like Steam Deck, and what does it mean for games to be there? ROG Ally, Lenovo. What does Xbox mean on those platforms? I don't think we've tuned it perfectly yet, and I've spent a lot of time with the team on that, but I want to make progress there. It's a lot to chew on. Ushers, you can go ahead.
The lies of P. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Catchy.
Ah, this guy.
So look, that sounds like a great sort of like and again, Phil is very good at this. Like that's why I always like use the
That's
he's
why
like
he
the
has the
Pied
job.
Piper. That's why he has the
That's
job, man. Like, and
why,
he's
yeah.
been doing this for very long, and he knows how to do publishing. Like, I mean, Microsoft Games, when he was in charge of it, was the best part of Xbox One. If you look at that launch and you look at the software that he put up, so I don't doubt his like his competency. Like, I agree with him when he says like sometimes people minimize people's entire life's work by saying something is trash or just sucks. And of course, we say that because we can. It's a sport. That's what I see this as. That's why when somebody says that there's nothing illogical about console warring about. It's how humans are. Humans compete about everything. Everything is contentious when it comes to people. So but I don't want to take away from what he's saying. I think it sounds good, but the thing is, I've believed Phil in the past, and nothing that he said in the past that I believed has actually worked out the way that I thought it would work out. So I'm just saying, like from 2017, when he started saying all these nice things, I don't see a lot of that right now being part of the vision that he laid out. A lot of the stuff that he laid out initially did not materialize. The vision of for Xbox has changed completely in the last 2 years alone. So this sounds like a great idea, and this is maybe where he is now, and this is how he feels now. I don't know if he's gonna feel or he's gonna be in this exact position when the PS5 sells over like 100 million, it's sitting at like 120 million, and the Series XS consoles can't even get over 40 million. I don't think, which means that they it's failed even worse than the Xbox One. I don't think you look at those numbers and say, well, we're
It's
still going to
currently
compete.
tracking behind the Xbox One
It
right
is.
now.
It is. It's way. And like, the problem with that is that how he's going to answer that, he's going to say, well, we have more people playing Xbox now than ever before. How do you contend with that? Like, where's the measurement of success if you have a correct answer for everything? Because that's what he said last time when they were saying, aren't you worried about sales? The fact that the PlayStation is like 2 to 1, 3 to 1 outselling you. And then he said, like, no, we have more people playing Xbox than we did last generation.
Are you
How do
calling
you
him a
contend with that?
gaslighter?
But that's true. Hold on a minute. I have to defend Phil on that one. It's true though. If he had
What
more
is
people playing on the Xbox One than than people playing on the 360, that's still a dub, bruv.
no, but
It's
like
like going to the gym, right? It's like
yeah.
going to the gym. This guy's lifting 100 kgs on each dumbbell on each side, and you can only do 40. But last year or last month, you were only doing 15. So it's like, yeah, they're still progressing. Things are fine.
I don't disagree with you guys. I think you're right. Like again, he's not lying, but he's just the way he's positioning the information, he's not answering the question. Because
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he's being
We
asked,
can agree on that. We can agree on
he's
that.
being asked a direct question. You are losing the competition against Sony in terms of sales for sales, which is what you guys originally got into this whole thing for. So are you not worried about that? And instead of addressing that, he won't address that. He'll just tell you like what he's sort of like, and this is why I say to you it's very difficult to understand what Xbox's measurements for success are, because not only are they constantly
Fuck.
changing,
Oh my god.
like
Sorry.
No, no, no problem. So like it's a nice vision to have, but it's not a vision as a fan of like there's no reason like I can't invest in that as I'm not gonna invest in his ecosystem for that because I invested in the Series X and S because I thought that would be the best place to play exclusive Xbox content. We're gonna get the best Halos, we're gonna get the best Gears, we're gonna get new IPs and all these other studios that they bought. None of that materialized.
Wait a
Like
minute. No, no, you got well, you
no,
didn't
no,
get the
not
best
exclusive. Like
Halo.
the whole pivot was exclusive. That was the whole pivot at the time. Everybody was saying, "Where are the exclusives, Phil? Where are the Xbox exclusive games? We don't have games." Like we
Which
wanted.
mean you don't have games. Ushers, just because a game is everywhere else
No,
doesn't mean that game is not good
no,
anymore. Dude,
that's not what
we
I'm saying. That's not what I'm
w-
saying. I'm saying
okay,
at the
say,
beginning of the
say what you
generation,
want to
when
say, because right
yes,
now it sounds
yes,
like you're trying to say that exclusives
okay,
make the box more
no,
valuable.
this is what I'm saying to you. When I bought the box, I like, and I don't care.
Timmy,
I don't
welcome
care
Timmy.
what everyone else's reasoning was. My reasoning when I bought the Series X was, geez, you know what? I really liked the Xbox One. It had so much potential. But in terms of like, if I look at the exclusive
You like the
offering in
one.
terms of the Xbox One, yeah. So
Something's wrong with you. All right.
if I look at what Sony offered their players on the PS4, it wasn't even it wasn't even a contest. It wasn't even close in terms
Wait,
of the amount of exclusive experience that you could only get on PS4.
not
So
just
when
exclusives. No, Ushers, stop it. Stop it. It's not just exclusives. Because you can have a whole bunch of exclusives, just like what the GameCube had. You can have a whole bunch of exclusives, but if they don't speak to the gamers, then it doesn't matter. And this is
But
a
what
point
was
I
my
wanted to bring
disclaimer?
up.
What was my disclaimer to you when I started that whole part was that I'm not talking about why everybody else bought a Series X. I'm saying to me as me
Okay,
personally,
just
if
you.
that's why
All right.
you want, if you buying that console plus, I buy the console primarily for what games are there. They're exclusive. Then I look at okay, cool. I can get FIFA on everything. So
True.
the only decision I need to make is which console do I primarily want to play. This is especially if you're a guy in your 20s and you've got a limited budget and you can really like you can only choose one console, which was my position last time. Was you know what? I can't afford everything. I'll buy a PlayStation 4 maybe later on when the games become cheaper and I can invest in it. But right now, if I look at PS5 and Xbox, the Series X thing that they're doing, and what they're selling me, like Phil just bought all these studios to make exclusive content for this box, and he's saying that he's finally going to deliver on his promise or Xbox's promise to have great exclusive content for us because we've had a whole generation where every single time the competition is like when you have that conversation you just keep quiet because you know that the first thing that like every PlayStation player is going to tell you is that like bro we have this, we have this, what do you guys have? And then it always came down to Gears, Forza and Halo. So
Forza. Forza.
for the first time that we were in a position, local, where we could like, wow, it was an exciting prospect for me. So I don't believe him now because like none of that panned out. Like everything ended up being, where we are now, where everything is third party and everything is going. That's not why I bought the Series X. Otherwise, I would have just bought a PS5 and I would have been better off as someone who
All
likes
right.
exclusive content. I'm not saying everybody does. I'm saying I do. It matters to me. If it doesn't matter to you, and then you see your console as a VCR or a tape player or a whatever or a microwave. If you look at your Xbox console or your PS4 and it's just another common appliance to you, it's a fridge, and it doesn't matter what fridge you put your food in, and that's how you see it, then that's you. That's not how. That's not my attachment to the brand.
All right. All right. Well, for me, definitely I see it as a fridge because I don't know, maybe I was damaged as a kid because I never stuck to one console. I never had, like, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I never had the limitation of, ooh, just this one. When we got the Nintendo, the SNES in my house, we also had the Sega Mega Drive. When we had the PS1, okay, we only had the PS1. We only had the PS1. But when we had the PS2, we did get an Xbox. When we had the PS3, we had the 360 as well. When I got the one, I also got the PS4 like 2 or 3 years later. for me, I don't have this crazy attachment of it needs to be on the Xbox, it needs to be on the PlayStation. What I need, right, and this is what I was even arguing with Ham. What I need is the box that gives me the most games, and and it needs to be like cheap or affordable or whatever. Because for me, maintaining my PlayStation library and my Xbox library was kind of exhausting. When my eyes were open to PC, and then I'm starting to see all of these PlayStation games that were going, because everyone knows I was a lot of my gaming was done on PlayStation, and then I'm seeing all these games are going from PlayStation to PC. Xbox has always been putting their games on PC. I don't really care. I've never really cared about Nintendo since back in the day. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go to PC, because my issue, right, or my interest, like you just said, Oshes, your interest is the brand. My interest is the games. That's all I care about. And for me, it just became very clear and obvious. PC is the place to be, because that's where all the games are at. Sure, maybe one or two PlayStation games aren't there yet, but by the time I finish every other game that I still need to get to, those PlayStation games will be there. It's fine. All the Xbox games are also going there day one, so that's why I chose PC. So Ushers, you're saying you're not convinced by Phil's point, or Phil's explanation of why you should get the
No,
next.
I feel that he's lost everyone like that thinks like me. That's console that grew up, and everyone that likes to dismiss console gaming. Good for you. You can do that. It's your choice. But some of us grew up on this. Like we came up with the
I
Genesis,
also grew up on it.
but like you didn't have the same attachment to it. Clearly, right? It was never a big
Yeah.
thing to you. Like to us, it was the way that you guys talk about all these athletes, all my homes, and this one did all this. I didn't give a crap about any of that crap. To me, that
Oh my
was
homes.
my thing was like
It's because it's
can
Super Bowl
Sonic
weekend.
let me make the example. Did
Okay.
Sonic dunk on Mario this time? Or did Mario dunk on Sonic? That to me,
No.
I grew up with that competition.
That
It's
mattered.
important to me. It's part of like my cultural upbringing within gaming. If to you it's not that important, or to someone else it's not that, and you don't get it, and it's just a matter of like it's an appliance to you. That's all it is. It's an appliance to you. Those
It's a
brands you don't have the
platform.
same sort of attachment to it. It's fine. Like that's cool. But I'm saying as someone who buys it as a brand, that you are invested in those like whatchamacallit, in those franchises, you're invested in those iconic games that came from that franchise. It's a
Yeah.
different story. Like for me, I'm in a position where like, okay, cool. Like then I've sort of done my 360 in gaming basically. I've like been through Nintendo, I've been through Sony, I've been through Xbox now. And to your point, this is where I suppose we sort of kind of like meet is PC is the best place because PC you're never gonna be in a position where you feel like somehow you got left out of an experience for whatever. Like you're always gonna get whatever it is that you put in. Like that's what the nice thing about PC. It's got nothing to do with there's no guy, there's no Phil Spencer driving PC forward. Not even Gabe Newell drives PC forward. PC drives itself. It's driven by the individuals that are playing PC games, and it's
Yeah.
exciting to me because of like for now I'm no longer a fan of a platform or a brand. I'm now a fan of like the guys that are coming up and making the sort of experiences I want to see more of, which is mostly indie guys.
Are you not a
To
fan of
me that's
Steam though?
Hold on,
um
Ty. Before you go, Be Nice said something interesting. Says, I think everyone wants him to say flat out Xbox failed selling the consoles. They want him to boldly say Halo, Gears, and
yes,
Forza are going.
yes, that's it. If he says that, then we all give up and we just leave the thing. Like that's all us
Bro,
hardcore fans want. And so
when
we
he
just want him
says
to
that,
say that. Just
yo,
say it.
when Phil says that, I don't want to be on the internet that day. Like I'm not even like only on PlayStation anymore or whatever. But I don't want to be on the internet that
But
day.
even but when he says it doesn't work for us, like I feel like people want it to be so explicit. It's like no, it doesn't have to
Yes,
be. It
we
doesn't
want
have
to.
to be.
We want to hear. Like we don't want a soft breakup, bro. Like this is what Phil's doing. He's trying to
Wake
spare
up!
your feelings.
Are you
Just
are you
say it.
having are you having a relationship with a console?
You know what I'll say? Yeah, I think
Absolutely,
that's
we have a
actually the
very
best.
social. Yeah.
That's the best example I've actually heard to describe the situation. Like, yeah, just a hard breakup, and everyone goes to
Good.
separate. Don't play these games with me. Don't say, well, maybe we should go on a break for like two.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's doing. He keeps. That's exactly what
Guys,
he's doing. Like,
these are video games. Come on,
that's
come on,
exactly
guys.
what he's doing. He just doesn't
No,
want to come out and say, "Bro,
I found somebody else.
exactly."
jeez.
Oh man.
All right.
And it's
Yeah,
Kai, go ahead.
I
Do
actually
you
agree with
believe?
what I was just saying. Yeah. Like I think the just a difference is like I think the market is obviously shifting, and I think listen, PlayStation is making a shift, and I always say this: if first place is making a shift, what does third place have to do to survive? And I think Xbox is doing that right now.
That's a
Um,
good point because even PlayStation, that's leading the pack, is struggling. That's what.
yeah,
That's why. That's why they're going desperately on PC.
and when the port game onto Nintendo Switch as well. When people say things like, "Well, it's Nintendo," it's like, no, no, no. Sony is very, very like Nintendo. They're very exclusive focus as well. So the fact that they've decided to do that shows you exactly. Nintendo says straight up, they're like, "We're not going to put our games on mobile phones." Years later, they did. Why?
That's
Because
true.
profits talk, right? So that happens. So yeah, I don't blame Phil for doing what he's doing at all. I guess people can say he's a bit slimy in the way he speaks, but even I don't think so. Like when you guys mentioned how they asked him about like the Xbox Series X and S sales, and he says, well, we have more Xbox consoles. I think what he's saying really is that like you're asking the wrong question, because if you want me to tell you what the Xbox Series X and S is doing, you don't get the full picture. The full picture is Xbox One. People are still buying games on that. A lot of people are buying games on that, and that's actually probably where we're making a lot of the money. That's probably where a large portion of our revenue is coming from. The same thing, and Sony says the same thing too. They talk about the monthly active users, and they've said, yeah, we have like half of our user base is on PS4.
Still
So
on PS4.
yeah, so when Xbox says it, I think people are a lot more critical. But when Sony says it, they're really good at getting away with doing the same things. Like if you think about it, really, yeah, Sony also has a subscription service, and if you go on the high tier, you get cloud, just like Xbox. They put the games on PC too. Sony has started to do what Sony is basically doing what Xbox is doing, except they're just 4 years back. So when people say this thing of like, well, it's just Microsoft that's changed. It's like, no, they're all changing. They're all changing. It's just some companies need to go a little bit slower than the others. Anyways, long story short, I'm not too upset with anything that Xbox is doing. Makes perfect sense. And when he says we need to compete on the console front as opposed to the games, once again, that's him saying um, that this is going to happen. And I think the question I'm probably going to ask to you and Oshus is, what are the negatives if Sony has to compete by making a console as opposed to games, and so does Microsoft? What are the negatives
The negatives to what? Sorry.
if we move from this exclusive centric focus and we move to more of a Steam like approach? What are the negatives where Xbox says, this is our graphics card, it's a 5090, Sony says, well, ours is a 6020. Like, what are the negatives of us pivoting towards this model?
I don't think there's any negatives to the gamers, honestly.
I think there
Because
is a huge negative.
get your
The fact,
feelings out and be
no, no.
specific. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point, and then you can go. All right. If we move in this direction as an entire industry, Tai, assuming the situation you've just posited, if we move into this direction, the consumer is the one that wins, because now we get a situation where every generation people are buying one box. We don't have to buy two, three boxes to get our games. We're buying one box, and that's it for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And I don't see a bigger win than that, because it's a lot of money, right? People like to pretend that gamers are billionaires or millionaires. Dude, splashing out $600-700, it's not easy, right? And then some of us, we don't even get the privilege of spending $600-700 because of where we live. It usually ends up being 1,000, 1,200 right now with the old MSRP. So when the new consoles come out and they're like 800-900, who knows how much it's going to be in other regions around the world. So yeah, the customer is the one that ultimately wins if this is what we do. Uh, Oship, before we go, shout out to Dorian Gray who said we are gamers, not consolers. Go ahead, Oshis.
I think he's wrong, but anyway.
Yeah.
Um, like he's been on this tangent of yeah, well, I get like his approach, I understand where he's coming from, but I'm just saying to him, well, the other 2/3 of like people who play console, not games, like not gamers, most gamers are mobile gamers. If you look at the stats, I'm not talking about those. I've got nothing in common with mobile gamers. I don't care about mobile gaming. I care about console gamers because I understand them, because they grew up on the stuff I grew up in. So, to answer your question, I think it's bad, and this is again based on just my upbringing, that you cannot, like, it's like you saying BMW not having Mercedes to compete with them is good because you only have to now choose from one brand of car. I don't think that's good for gaming. Sony has always had at least
We're
three
doing
or
car
two other
analogy.
competitors to compete against, and that's kept gaming somewhat relevant. So since Nintendo left, it's just been literally Sony versus Xbox or Microsoft. And I just don't think right now this is how I saw this ending. It would have been nice at least to have Stadia be successful and have Google in here, or have Luna be successful and have those guys in here, or even Apple come in here. But there is no future where Sony is got a like what should I call it, a monopoly on console gaming that's good for you as a gamer. I don't think that that is possibly going to do you any good, because look at what's happened now. For the first time, instead of console prices going up, sorry, going down, everything has gone up. You paying like the PS, like before, whenever they release a pro console, the pro console will take over the price of the previous console and you pay cheaper for the existing model. They just remodel it and make it a slim, and then they make it cheaper. But none of those conventions are working anymore because there is no competition to hold Sony to any sort of standard. Same with the game releases. Look at how poorly things have gone since Nintendo, sorry, so since Xbox sort of said, you know what, we're pivoting and we're going to be doing this. Like, I don't think that's going to get better simply because of the fact that there's no competition. Someone else needs to fill the vacuum. I hope someone
Someone
comes.
will feel it. One thing, Oshis, that I always say on this pod, and when people say, "Oh no, they're probably not going to do this or that," dude, the one human instinct we can all agree that we can all trust will never disappear is greed. Greed has surpassed love. It has surpassed hate. It has surpassed all types of other emotions that we all feel. It is one of the most consistent like motivations of the human being, greed. And Oshus, I'm telling you right now, everyone knows that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry projected to become $1 trillion industry by 2035. Okay, with all that money in the pot, Xbox could disappear tomorrow, and I'm telling you, the day after, we're gonna have a new competitor. Tis not a problem. Don't worry. Someone wants to make that money. That's why I'm saying Xbox is not going anywhere. That's why they're still going to make that console. Because as much as people like to downplay it, 30, 40 million people buying your box, that's a lot of money. Like a lot of money for you to just walk away and be like, it's not worth it. We lose I don't know, $200, $100 per console. Dude, it's not even the consoles where they make the money, it's the software. And even if we go with this deluded idea that no one buys games on Xbox, do you guys know how much? Have you guys made a quick calculation of how much $20 times 30 to 40 million is? and then we're just going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, Xbox is going to leave anytime soon. No, no, let's chill. Let's relax. All right. Take a step back. Ushers, get your composure, right? Get your emotions out of this. It'll be fine. Rachie, thank you so much for the $2 Canadian. Says next Xbox need to be big. If it's a fire stick, he's gonna be swearing. It's probably not gonna be a fire stick. It's probably not gonna be a fire stick.
To Osh's point about the competition element, I have 2 points on that. The first one is in Ireland we have this thing called Sky Digital, and it was a satellite dish that we would use. If you wanted to use it, you'd have to call the company. They'll come down. They'll bring the satellites. They'll install it into your house on top of it, and then they'll also bring the box itself. And then you pay for the installation prices, and there you go. You have Sky Digital, all that kind of stuff. It was great. It was cool.
1995 stuff, huh?
Yep.
Back in the before times.
hmm And then a company called Netflix came along as just started saying, you don't even need to buy anything. You can just you stream it onto your TV. And companies like Sky Digital, they obviously didn't like the idea of that because they liked the idea of owning their box and all, the extra payments they get from it. And then at some point they had to pivot because they were losing money. So I think what this is showing is that there is a change happening in the industry, and Sony can keep doing console wars, and we're just going to keep making them PlayStation 5, 6 and 7 and 8, and they'll get left behind very, very, very fast. And I think that's where you're seeing some kind of change here. Now when it comes to the competition part of it, even if Xbox bounces, as Loco was saying, there's a market there, right? And we already know it's happening because Xbox has hinted, yeah, OEMs, you can create your own console and you can just use our own database. We know Lenovo is doing this. We know ROG is doing this. So if
Mm.
Xbox goes, does ROG Ally think, oh wait, there's a potentially 40 million users that might actually want a console on the TV. Let's do that.
Does Steam try again, Ty? Remember
And,
Steam had a
and
console.
that was my next point. The Steam Deck, you could if you really wanted to, you could plug into your television, right? And there you go. You have it right there. Steam is going to, and it's rumored that they're going to try to get into the console space. This is why Sony's probably sharing their pants as well. Like, okay, now we're going to have Steam in here. So if Xbox goes, well, then you have Steam. Now, you might argue that, well, Steam doesn't really make their own exclusive games, and that may be true. But as we all know, Sony is saying the PS5 or the PlayStation user base is still not enough. So they're still going to port these games on Steam. The only reason why I'm even considering getting an Xbox next generation console is because it's going to be PC focused. If it's PC focused and it's play anywhere,
I'm
I'm
in.
I'm there. Like
I'm in.
that's a really good selling point, especially when I know that Sony's gonna be pulling their games on PlayStation. I mean, these dudes went from 3 years, 2 years to Spider-Man 2 coming out 1 year later. So I think the industry is already changing, and this is why I'm looking at Phil because I think Phil gets caught in this situation where he's like, I see the future, you guys don't see it because you don't want to change. You guys are the same blockbuster directors and CEOs who didn't want to go down the Netflix approach because in your mind, this is good, this is great, we're making money this way. But I'm saying if we don't adapt now, we get destroyed. And I think that's what's happening. Now, it all could be nonsense or bullshit, but there is no trend that says the way Sony is doing it is accurate. Because again, when first place starts to pivot, starts to put their games on PC, and that window gets smaller and smaller and smaller. When first place starts to explore with cloud, and I think I'm one of the guys who said it that um, during the Activision Blizzard leaks or the Insomnia leaks, Sony thought cloud gaming was going to do something special. They were afraid of cloud gaming. They thought Stadia was going to do something. Now Stadia messed up, but that doesn't change the fact that they know cloud is important in the future. Jim Rice said it in his the position. He said cloud isn't here now, but in 10 to 15 years it could be something. If he's correct, and in 10 to 15 years cloud is something, if you don't have a pillar or foundation in that, you're screwed. Because if it's here, why would I buy a 500, 700 euro PlayStation console when I can just stream games on my TV and it's accurate? So they need to
Exactly.
start making these steps towards these pillars. And I think, I mean, no, I think that's exactly what's happened. That's what Phil's been trying to say all this time. And yeah, listen, I'm not saying you're entirely wrong. I'm just saying that I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that this is actually bad for gaming. And when it comes to the competition from a gaming perspective, content wise, we still got Baldur's Gate 3, we still got Assassin's Creed, we still got Street Fighter, we still got all these companies that don't have consoles making competitive good games. We're all saying right now that Xbox isn't
Elden Ring.
competing.
Don't forget Elden Ring.
Elden Ring, Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk. We're all saying Xbox isn't competing. And if we're saying they're not competing, but then we're looking at this slate for this year and we're saying these are great games, it means that in the absence of a console, you can still make great games because the content creators, the people who are actually making these games, the new Druckmanns, the Kojimas, they don't care about the box. They're creators, they're artists, and they want to make a great product. I don't think anybody looks at the team that made Cyberpunk and thinks that, well, if no console existed, they'll make a crap game. If no consoles existed, they'll put out Cyberpunk 2 on the PC. So the quality is still going to remain. And it becomes less important on which console you're playing your game. The question is, are you actually playing our game?
Oshis must be really mad right now. Aussie fan
Why would
80,
I be mad?
welcome to TSWS. Aussie fan 80 says it's definitely the right decision to put everything that will make money on other platforms. Who really at this point is worried about Starfield going or even Halo? It is a 20-year-old game.
I
Oshis, please
mean,
explain to him, because or him or her, explain to Aussie fan 80 one more time, because they probably weren't here when you were ranting about how you were raised in the mean streets
yeah,
of Sega Genesis. Go
yeah, man.
ahead.
It's either your blood or crip, man. What are you ripping? Hmm? That's
Yo,
how it was. That's how it was when I was coming up, and it just got worse when Sony entered the fray because they were aggressive, and they are still aggressive till this day. All the stuff that Phil is doing, they're doing it at a the Sony and Nintendo in terms of how aggressive they are with their IPs has not changed. I get everyone. Like, look, you have to understand one thing. Like, and I think when I have this conversation, people think I'm talking about gaming is no longer a us thing. Like, it's not a me, you, Ty, and Ham. People who sit on these machines. Gaming is a what should I call it? A Candy Crush thing. That's gaming now. That's popular gaming. That's who Phil is looking at as his customer. So those customers are never going to ask these questions because, again, to them it's just a fridge. It's just a microwave. They're never going to sit on a podcast and listen to something about a fridge or a microwave because it's just an appliance to them. So that's the people that Xbox is targeting, and that's why they need the big bucks. So that's why they're going all in. Whereas Sony still relies on that console market to sort of drive because they sell primarily hardware. They're not selling just software. They're selling hardware. Same with Nintendo. So all I'm saying is that as far as a gamer like me, like if I'm likely to buy a console or any sort of box in the future, it's either going to be a Nintendo or a Sony because they provided me with something I know that is like, I understand, I grew up with it. All this imaginary libraries here and cloud this, I don't give a crap. If that's what people want, and that's the majority of what people are going to be buying because that's the bigger wider market and we're just 20%, I'm happy with being part of the 20%. The awesome thing though for us as the 20% is that PC exists and it always has. And PC will meet all your gaming needs, whether you're into console, you can play all your previous consoles on PC, you can emulate them, you can do anything on PC. Which is why to me it's the perfect platform where I no longer have to have these conversations about consoles. I don't like where the console space is now because there's a lot of uncertainty. And for me, it no longer gives me that. So, because it all comes back to that's why we go to entertainment, is that there's a form of comfort that we get from it. I don't get that from console gaming anymore because I just don't understand the business. Like, I don't understand, nor do I care to. That's another thing that's important. I don't care to understand why Sony is going to be profitable in 10 years if they do this, or why this is bad or this is good for Xbox if they do ABC. I don't care anymore. I've sort of removed myself from that. And I like the space because it allows me to sort of experiment with whatever I want and I
Do you
can
not find it
choose.
exciting?
No, not at all. Like,
Like
what is exciting about it, Ty? Like, for me as a guy, so as a guy who is a traditional gamer, who grew up with physical, who grew up with Sega, whatchamacallit, Microsoft, sorry, Sega, Microsoft, I suppose, yeah, and Nintendo, as well as Sony. Why would this be exciting to me? That everything that I know is now just going to become an app and a service.
when you say it like that, um, for me, the idea of um, as a consumer, the idea of something like Play Anywhere, being or even being able to play my Game Pass. Like I've told you guys a story before that I got back into the Xbox ecosystem not because I had an Xbox Series X, PC, or Series S, but it was because cloud gaming, and I started playing these games on my mobile phone. And I'm showing my friend like, yo, like this is great. And then from there, I jumped onto Stadia, and I was like, this is even better. And then I ended up getting an Xbox Series X, and then I'm going to my, then I get a PC. I'm playing Starfield here. I'm playing Starfield on my Xbox. I'm playing Meta 4 back and forth on my phone, PC, and also Xbox. I'm thinking this is dope. Like this is amazing. And for me, that Play Anywhere feature is so good. The idea of playing cloud is so great. Like I go to the UK, I go to France, Belgium, I go to all these places, and I'm in the hotel room and I'm streaming Starfield. I'm streaming all these games that I really want to play. And I think that feature is so attractive. So to me, it's already an app. If you already use your console and you're using a PC, like even you now, Oshus, you have an Xbox Series X, but you also have a ROG Ally and you also have a PC. You've used the Xbox app probably for every single one of those and the Game Pass app. Therefore, you are engaging in Xbox's future. They're saying the console doesn't matter. And they're saying, yeah, you might, want that console in front of your TV, but we got you covered for next year. I mean, for the next gen, and after that gen, who knows, right? But however, with our OEM rumors or whatever it is, you could have a Samsung Xbox, and once again, you put it on, it's going to be the app. And I think at the end of the day, what you're really falling in love with is, I guess maybe this example might make sense. When I'm talking to one of my guys, and he's kind of making the same points as you, I'm like, when you emulate a game on PC and it's a GameCube game, and that purple sign pops up and runs around, it feels like a GameCube. It is a GameCube, correct? And that's all you care about. It's that ecosystem. Because the GameCube is completely irrelevant. I mean, the Nintendo Switch was an all and in Nvidia console at some point. What you really just care about is actually the app. Screw the box. The box means absolutely nothing. So there's a lot to be excited about. Um, at the end of the day, these boxes are all just computers. That's it. All computers. And the PS5 can play the Xbox games, and even the Switch now, the Switch 2 is getting closer to these modern day consoles as well. They're all very, very similar. And in some sense, it's a con that we've like they've tricked us into thinking that we need to buy separate devices to enjoy this content, when the truth is we do not. The reason why the app system works well so now, such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, the reason why we're so app focused is because this is the future. And I think I've said this too low. I cannot think about buying a box that just plays Netflix TV shows. It just wouldn't work. We want accessibility, and if you going to offer accessibility, you're going to win.
And I agree with that. You're absolutely right. Like, your points, like Ty, there's nothing illogical or like everything that you're saying is lining up 100% with that Phil and his boardroom of, like, because they have a lot of analysts that look at all this. They've done all this. Yes, they've come to the conclusion that you've come to. But what I'm saying is that that's fine, and I'm happy that everybody is enjoying that. But that doesn't excite me. It's like me saying, like what you're saying, basically is very simple. Is you're saying, well, all of us are just
So,
basically just meat, blood, and
you guys
bones.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Luke.
All right, sorry. For some reason, yeah, Ham was right. Something's wrong with this app. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
Oshus. I just wanted to add some.
Okay, cool. No,
Uh,
no, go ahead. Go ahead. It's
I
fine.
tend to agree with Dorian Gray here. I've never once given a F about the financials of Pepsi or Chick fil A. I'm sitting and I'm like, you know what? One of my favorite energy drinks is Monster. I don't even know how much the Monster energy drink trades for. I'm sure it's on like stocks or whatever. I'm sure they have directors. I'm sure they've got all types of stuff, but I've never really cared about that stuff. I just taste, I like it, I'm buying it, and I'm going. Whether like Red Bull has their own stuff, I've tasted it, I didn't like it, I kept it pushing or whatever. I don't understand why we maybe can't pivot to that in terms of gaming. Like, can we
Uh,
start focusing more on the games?
can I ask you a question, Luke?
What?
Who's your favorite soccer team?
Manchester United. Actually, no, 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 no. In Europe, it's Manchester United, but my
Yeah.
favorite is Palmeiras in Brazil.
Okay. Um,
Oh,
can you tell me, because I don't know that other club? Like, can you tell? You probably know what the last, like during the whatchamacallit, the transfer season. You know all the transfers for Manchester United. You know exactly how much each cost, and you know why
yeah.
they bought those players and how it positions them within the league to be able to win. So you know basically all
Okay.
the financial, the typical average. And there's billions of people who watch soccer, but the typical average guy who watches soccer and follows a club
Football,
or
football.
football,
Not
they know
all,
all the,
not
and this
all.
translates to America. This translates to America and American sports as well as basketball and all that. They know all those little nitty gritty economic things around that brand, that team, and everything surrounding it. That's all important to them. It's not a detail. It matters how who they bought and how much they paid for him, whether or not that was a good purchase. You have opinions on all these things. So this is where
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with people that try to diminish the whole thing of like that's how other people feel about gaming. Just because you don't feel that way about gaming,
Oh, shush,
um, it doesn't
shush,
mean that other people don't feel like that
oh,
or
shush.
have that
I think,
approach to it.
I think the view is obvious. It's not obfuscated, but I think the view is incorrect because I think
Okay.
gamers, right? And to Dorian Gray's point earlier on, we are gamers, not consolers. Do you get me? So
Okay,
we
that's
don't
like me saying,
support.
okay, can I say you are a
Let me
you are a
finish.
supporter of football, but not a supporter of a team?
Let me finish exactly, and
Okay.
and this is where we get into the nitty gritty, right? Going back to your analogy about football, I'm a Manchester United fan. Okay, before I'm worried about the rest of the world of football. I'm worried about Manchester United. So, in the gaming analogy, it would be I'm a Tekken fan. And then if I have time, I'm checking about the rest of the world in gaming. But the priority is the game. Most normal football fans, the priority is my team. It's not FIFA. Do you get me? It's
No,
not
I
uh,
get you, but
it's not UEFA. Hold on, it's not FIFA. It's not even UEFA. Most of the time, it's not even the freaking Premier League or the Bundesliga. It's the team. So, following your analogy, it goes back to my original point. It would be best, in my opinion. This is what I prefer for us to focus on the games.
but because that's what you care about is the
Yes,
game,
yes,
like
yes, yes.
not the legacy and the brand that's tied to the game. Like, because
No, no.
again, what you're doing is like you basically just again, and this is semantics. These are all very semantic arguments. Because again, you can say that it's so. What makes sports? Like, for instance, I can ask. I saw someone said like, "Well, it's not sports. It's." I'm like, okay, cool. So, what? Where do you draw the line? So, what makes sport? How come you are allowed to have that affinity for a football team, and a person is not allowed to have that affinity for a brand that makes consoles?
I wouldn't say they're not allowed.
Because the
For
way that
me,
like
for
yeah,
me, the reason I don't do it is because competition, it needs to be quantifiable. I remember when I got into this whole thing about video game discussions, I did want to have a like sports feel to it, even on this podcast. And then I started doing research about quantifying success and failure. And video games, love it or hate it, is not clear about quantifiable, like undeniable success and failure. That's the
Who won?
problem.
Can I ask you a question? Who
Well,
won the last generation of consoles in terms of like home consoles? Who do you know? Is that a thing? Is that a common
the
knowledge thing that
problem with
everybody?
that, the problem with
Yeah.
that is that the last generation, everyone starts and ends at their own time, because some people will say, well, okay, where do you put Nintendo? I know Nintendo is not in the same league as Xbox or PlayStation. Well, why? Are their video games not video games? I know they have a
So
different artistic style. Yeah, but are they still video games? So if we're following the philosophy of a quote unquote sport, it would be the same as saying the team that shoots 3 pointers, do they really play basketball? Because everyone else, right, focuses on getting it into to the mid range, or getting it to their centers for layups or dunks. These guys, they play basketball, but do they really? Yes, they fucking do. So it's like, all right, if we assume that Nintendo is definitely making video games like everyone else, your question, right, has just fallen apart, because we assume that last generation ended when the Series X and the PS5 came out. The
um,
problem with that is the Switch did not start when the Xbox started, when the PS5 started. It started a bit later, and it has stretched way before the one, way after the one, way after the PS4. So when does it start? When does it end? Is it fair
no,
to say
you
Nintendo didn't win because they didn't sell as many consoles within the same amount of time as the one and the PS4? And if it's not, and if it is fair, then how do we then quantify the time between the PS4 and the one starting, and the Nintendo starting and ending? So
there's
we can't in this scenario, right? In this
okay.
specific scenario, we can't make the sports analogy. And I'm sure if we go back to the other console generations, it'll be the exact same thing. It's too vague for you to sit there and
Is it?
quantify and break it
Is
down.
it
Yes.
like
Yes.
you can't go
I'm
to
actually,
so I
I'm
can't
actually going to agree with Oshus here. I think,
like
and
I
we
can't
can't
go to
quantify it.
Wikipedia right now and it will tell me exactly who finished, because again, the whole thing that you're making with Nintendo, I think, like, again, you're doing this, but the whole thing that you're making with Nintendo, like, everybody knows at what point in time Nintendo stopped competing with Sony and why. And Taye and I have had this chat
Where's the
before.
trophy?
Yeah, yeah,
Really,
no, 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 no. You can't be
really
comparing.
low.
No.
You can
No,
Just,
quantify.
because you're
you know
arguing
what?
semantics now. That's the thing. You're arguing semantics.
No, I'm arguing specifics that you brought in as
I'm
an
saying to you,
example.
you can go to Wikipedia right now. It'll tell you who won that generation. It'll tell you
Sir,
who won every
sir,
generation.
Wikipedia told us that Yasuke was one of the legendary
Okay.
samurai in Japan. No, ain't nobody listening to Wikipedia if you have two brain
Okay.
cells.
All right. Okay, then, like, look,
It's
then
it's
I'm
it's
wrong
the
and
way you
Wikipedia.
could put it down is like, when we talk about, like, forget about the Game Awards, for example, right? In the gaming space, you know, Cyberpunk might not get Game of the Year, but we as gamers can argue together and say Cyberpunk is one of the best games that's been released. Now, Oshus might say, no, I think it's Elden Ring. I might say, no, I think it's Zelda. But I think we all know that there's a consensus that says it's probably maybe Cyberpunk. So I think that's where Oshus is coming from. We don't really need a
No,
trophy to say that,
no.
Xbox
You
One
need
per se.
objectivity. No, you need objective. If you're going to compare something to sport, there's no other competition as
He,
specific
he's
as
comparing the
sport.
fandom.
Again, the reason he's comparing the fandom is because it's connected to something quantifiable. You can't bring in an analogy of sport and only use one specific little section. and say
No, you.
we focus on only this. We can't focus on only this. We have to bring in the entirety of it.
I'll give you an example. Like this is a real life one, right? I'm really into the business side of gaming, and a lot of my friends just like to play games, and they'll always say like, "Oh, I don't understand why you do this podcast, wasting time when you can be playing games instead." And my rebuttal to them is like, when you watch Stephen A. Smith on ESPN and you do all this, stuff and the debates they have, yeah, this is the
Thank you.
equivalent. And his
Damn,
response is like, well, I'm like, it's equivalent. It literally is equivalent
damn.
because you talk about the trades, you talk about the business side of why the Lakers are doing this, they're doing that, who's going here, who's managing. I'm talking about, listen, Okami, who's directing Okami again?
It's the same guys that made the first one.
Yeah, the same guy. I'm saying
Yeah.
that's something important. When Miyazaki says, "Yeah, we're bringing in George R. R. Martin," I'm telling my friends the same thing. Like, yeah, George R. R. Martin is working on Elden Ring. I'm looking at creators when Microsoft says, "Yo, listen, we're creating a new studio called the Initiative, and we're bringing guys from God of War. We're bringing this guy who was directing, Daniel Gallagher." I'm like, yeah, these are important things to know. They don't care. But I'm saying, yeah, you don't care because it's gaming. But if it's basketball or football, you care because I tell my friends every time, you guys call me and you talk for hours about basketball, not even
Yes,
the match, just what's happening before the
drama,
match, the drama.
drama.
I'm like, it's the exact same thing. So when Osh is saying this, I 100% understand where he's coming from because he's talking about the fandom of it, and that's fine. I get it. I get it.
Can understand the fandom. The only thing I was contesting from what Oshus was talking about was objective competition.
So
Like
this is the
We
part
again,
where it gets
objective.
interesting.
we can't have objective competition because, like I said earlier on, gaming is one of the most vague industries where people hide numbers and they obfuscate results.
But
It's
it
not a
wasn't
place.
really
It's not a
always
Yeah.
like that though, because it was very clear to know that the GameCube lost, right? And Xbox lost as well. Like PlayStation 1 was
It
a
was,
clear
yeah.
winner. It was very
But
clear
what
to let the
is it
PS2
now?
win as well.
But what
Yeah,
is it
so so things did change, and the reason why things actually changed is because when I was younger anyway, the answer was who sold the most consoles. And at
Yes.
some point, the question then became, well, do we actually consider the actual games, like who released the best games, and do we actually consider, wait a second, who's actually making the most money of these things? So we did get a little bit more, crazy. However,
Nuance.
yeah, it became a bit more nuanced. However, we can still debate those topics and still say, okay, who's winning, who's not. Like right now, we all know for a fact that Xbox is not winning. Doesn't matter if they have constant numbers. Doesn't matter what they say.
God
No one,
damn.
no one
No,
thinks they're winning.
no, 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 no.
The
They're not
FTC said
winning.
The
Let
FTC
me
said they
finish.
suck.
God damn it. Dude, the FTC said is said a whole bunch of
No, no, no.
rubbish that people said
Microsoft said they
was
suck.
wrong.
Sorry, they were like, yeah, we're trash. Look at these numbers.
Yeah,
Listen,
Phil, and like he
listen,
was out saying that we're getting our asses kicked
fellas,
every generation. And like again,
fellas,
yeah,
fellas,
go
we're
ahead.
not being objective. We're not being objective. Say the
This
whole
was
thing. Say the whole thing, boys.
okay. I'll say
Xbox,
this statement then.
Xbox is definitely not winning in terms of console sales. Because, like you said, Ty, it's become more nuanced. So we have to bring the whole gaming industry into this equation. Yes?
Hmm.
Which is mobile, which is PC. And if you bring in all of that, Xbox is not losing. They're definitely not third. They're definitely not third. So let's be more specific if we're going to talk about the entirety of it. Or we can start a conversation and say, all right, we're only talking about consoles. We're limiting ourselves to only that.
Hmm.
And then we can move forward with that. But if we're talking about everything, Xbox is not third.
Yeah, if we talk about everything, they're not they're not third. But I mean, before the ABK deal, this is why they were able to buy them because when
Don't
people say like,
nobody care
okay,
about what happened before. You were single before. You're married now. Right now, right? You're standing in front of the judge and he's asking you, are you married? Ah, I used to be single in 2015. Don't nobody care, bruv. What
I,
is your reality right now?
So I just want to know something from Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray, what do you think your sports team is? Don't you think that's a
Oh,
brand?
do you know what they call Manchester United? They call it Branchester United. That's how bad the team has gotten. It's terrible. It's embarrassing. Voidlock. If Microsoft wasn't close to winning, why was Sony crying about ABK? It was never about console sales. Always been about game sales and microtransaction sales. Facts. Yobi. Xbox as a brand is making more cash than Windows. Case closed. So again, that's what I was saying. Oshus. Are we talking about just consoles, or are we talking about gaming? Because if we're talking
So,
about
so,
gaming, I know people like to pretend that mobile is not a part of gaming,
but
but
what
it
did I say
is.
to you though? What did I say to you when I started? Like when I was answering your question, I said to you, I can't
When you
speak.
started capping.
Well, yes, when I started capping, I said I can't speak for I can't speak for Dorian Gray because Dorian Gray sees it as a microwave. It's a fridge to him. It's the same thing. Like I can't speak for you because you also say that you've got a very different relationship and association with that.
I
I said I was
understand.
just speaking for myself and the same the kind of console gamers I engage on Twitter almost every day. They care about that stuff and where we are right now in gaming, I think for a lot of them, there's no value in, like, for instance, buying an Xbox that does not have those experiences. It's as simple as that. And like they will go where like they can feel because it's like what they grew up with, it's what they're familiar with. Um, is it a great business strategy? No, but as you said, there'll always be that business. To me, I don't
Always.
care about mobile gamers. I don't understand mobile gamers. I don't get that part of the business. I'm not trying to commentate and speak on their behalf.
From
Only what I know and what I understand.
Yeah, from a football analysis point of view, if you remove the idea of taking a trophy, then I could ask you a question, Luke, which is, well, which football team is the best in the league right now in the top five? Forget about the trophy. Who's playing the best football? Now it becomes a bit tricky, right? Because we can all say probably Liverpool's probably playing the best football, but then you look at like some teams like, maybe, but Arsenal's defense is pretty good. So how do we quantify it? Yeah,
No,
the way we do is that
no.
we
You
just
can
we
take the
debate it.
trophy away. You can take the trophy away, but it still stands up because you still have the league table.
No, no, no. I'm saying. Oh, so let me clarify. Forget the league table. I'm saying who's the best football team. That becomes trickier, right?
But
However, we can all come to a consensus that it's probably Man City. I mean, well, a couple of
if you
years ago.
remove if
Hmm.
you remove if you remove the things that make the sport specific and quantifiable, the sport is not specific and quantifiable. I don't, what are you trying to
and
say?
then
No,
what
but look,
his point is right is because the fact that like if you look at
I
gaming,
should say
a
his
lot
point
of
is
the
right.
stuff that was yes, like a lot of the stuff that was quantifiable before, like we knew what how we like you measured success in the console industry, for instance. You sell
Yeah,
10 million, I sell 5, you've
yeah,
won, you've done better. Now
yeah,
we're counting player numbers and all sorts of abstract things. So
yeah,
you've changed how you measure the game. That's why I say to
yeah.
you, I don't care anymore because I don't understand it. So I'm
That's
no
fine.
longer part of
That's
that, and
fine.
that's
but
So
look,
so
look, point
so the
else.
industry has moved on beside or the industry has moved on, and now you're upset that the industry has moved on.
no. I'm just saying I'm good. It's not for
Saying
me
doesn't
anymore.
care. But
I
look,
don't care.
the point I was saying there was like before trophies and money and all these things, yeah, like when football was just at its core, when people were just watching it, we could still say who's the better team, right? We could still have those debates.
But because of people having discussions like we're having right now,
Mhm.
bordering on 4 hours, people are like, "All right, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it.
No, no, because I
Let's
think I
make
think
this quantifier."
I think we all love this though. I think we all like these discussions. Like I said, my
Ah
friends would
man,
never watch this. They hate this stuff. Right now, they're watching ESPN though. Because when Ace Smith talking about basketball, if this was a basketball podcast, they will be watching this right now. So I think it's okay. I get
I
Usher's
wish
point. I get your point.
I wish that we could quantify gaming. I wish it was something open. I wish you could understand what's going on in terms of numbers, because I think it would even make the whole conversation better. Because many times, especially with us here on TSWS, I'm not going to speak for other people. We acknowledge that we don't have all the facts, we don't have all the numbers, and that we're reaching on many specific points. I think our conversation would be even more like engaging or interesting if we knew the numbers. That would really. That's why when things come out like, "Oh, this game sold X," "Oh, this console sold X," that's a whole show. Do you know what I mean?
I'm
So
gonna
I
I'm
think it would
gonna
be better if we had stats.
I'm gonna actually disagree with you there a little bit. Not because I don't,
Yeah.
not because I think what you're saying is incorrect.
Ooh, here's a good one by Yobi. He said Green Bay Packers would be the best team in NFL history. I believe they have over 700 plus. Yobi, that's a very good point. The Packers, if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, with Mike Tomlin, they've been like 5 or is it 10 years with just the only team being like they never have a negative record. They always have more wins than losses. No one's ever done that. But when it gets to the postseason, it's crickets. So again, Ty, until the whole sports analogy only works if you can quantify everything. If you can't quantify, then it's not a sports analogy because there is no sport that's vague.
No,
All of
I'm
them
talking
are
about we're
quantifiable.
not trying to
You're talking
quantify
about it's talking
sports
about the fandom though, the fandom.
fandoms. Like, why do you know that, Loke? Like, that is like the most. That is the most useless piece of. You can never do anything with that information. You do know that. All that stuff that you just rambled to me, it was like
Listen,
me and Kai. I know for a fact that we
Oh
we
yeah,
just.
yeah. It's the Steelers. You're
But like you know this piece of
right. You're right.
information,
Cautious.
It's the
He
Steelers.
does
My
he
bad.
does
My
this
bad.
to
nobody
It's
me
the
gives a
Steelers, not the
too
Packers. Sorry.
when he wants to shit on PlayStation and he brings up Conquer but doesn't bring up Stellar Blade. How much he loves that game. Like look does this shit a lot.
Yo. You guys need to leave. You guys need to leave Stellar Blade alone.
But look, let me finish that point. I was saying like
All
I
right.
do get what
All
you're
right.
saying is like we need to like it's better if we could quantify gaming to be like so much easier and better. I would say no, not really. I get the point, but I think what's more interesting is the nuance part of it. You know, where you can say based on your knowledge of let's say business and how things work. That you could say based on what the information we have and information that Xbox has given and what I know, I think Xbox is in this position or I think they're doing this well. And then I can disagree, but then you might be able to convince me based on these nuances that you know that is special to you. And I think that's what makes the podcast more interesting. Like it's so easy to just say, okay, guys, podcast, oh, who won this generation? Well, Nintendo sold 150 million, end of story. No. That's boring. The nuance is where the interesting parts lay. That's why people love the Activision Blizzard case because it was a back and forth as to is Microsoft or is Xbox a monopoly or not if they buy this company. It wasn't a clear cut answer. There was different threads, which is okay. We have to consider cloud. We have to consider PC. We have to consider Steam. We have to consider if Nintendo's part of the ecosystem or not. We have to consider is Microsoft going to put these games in different places. What happens if they take Call of Duty from PlayStation? And I think that's where the entertainment of what we
It was
do
a clear cut
lies.
answer. It was a clear cut answer. Microsoft definitely wasn't a monopoly.
I mean, look at this guy.
People,
Like he knows exactly what I'm
people,
talking about, man.
people were just coping. People were just coping. It wasn't a monopoly. People were just coping.
Yeah, it wasn't, but we have to ask the question.
Fellas, we've been going on 3 hours.
yeah.
Um, please plug your stuff. Tell people where they can find you, what you're up to, and then next week we can try and do this again. Ushers, don't be bringing up no sports analogies. It's not going to end well. Video games and sports, you might as well bring up like restaurant analogies because that's more vague. Video games and specific analogies, it doesn't work because video games are not specific.
No, you're talking from like the business perspective. I'm talking from the fan perspective as to what Tai is saying.
You're talking about the fan perspective.
Yes, like just the fandoms. But anyways, like it's fine.
You can't look at a fan
All right, it's fine.
without looking. Hold on. You can't look at a fan, analyze that fan, and at no point analyze why they're a fan. So
What?
the motivations that lead to someone being a
Okay.
fan of a sport have a lot to do with the specificity in the
No,
thing that they're a
no,
fan of.
no. Then why?
With
Why?
sports,
Uh,
one of the most common things, right, with sports that almost every fan is 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 acquainted with, right, is with the specific stats of their team.
I mean,
And going back to the analogy that I was using,
yeah.
PlayStation is not the team. The games are the teams.
So, do people stand for the games like they do for PlayStation on Twitter?
Fuck yes. You're following the wrong people, my guy. There's
Then
people
that's
live
exactly
there's
my point.
people
That's been my
there's
point this whole
people that
time.
live there's people that live and die for Final Fantasy. There's
Okay.
dude, there is an entire podcast just about Final Fantasy.
But look,
They,
Final Fantasy is Ronaldo, right?
no,
It's
Final
people that live
Fantasy is
yes.
Man. No, Final Fantasy is
Yeah.
Man United. It's Real
So Kai,
Madrid. You
Kai
know
is
why?
on the
No,
You know
Kai
no.
is
why?
on the
Let me
money
tell you why.
today. Kai,
Let me tell you why it's
go
not
with it.
Ronaldo. Ronaldo is a finite resource. Ronaldo is at Al Nassr, and in 10 years, in 5 years, Ronaldo's retired and done. These IPs are forever, my brother. Quite literally forever.
But if it
Coventry,
fails, if it
Coventry
doesn't sell,
City,
okay.
Coventry City was in the 80s, 18 something that they made Coventry City. It still exists. There's no football player that's played for more than 50 years. It's never happened. There's a Japanese player that's still, he's in his 50s. He's playing football, but he's not going to make it to 100 years playing football. So if we're going to follow this analogy, right, Final Fantasy is not Ronaldo.
No.
Yeah,
But like what
you're
way
being
no.
very pedantic about this.
Exactly.
From a
I'm being
snapshot,
specific.
No,
yeah,
no,
but
you're
from a
being
I'm being
specific
snapshot,
to
no,
points
specific.
no,
that
but
work to
look,
support your argument.
we're
Like I can
comparing.
make similar points.
Yeah, we're comparing fandoms, right? So from a snapshot point of view, you are trying to say that, like, no, you know what, it's a little bit different. I'm trying to say that Sony or PlayStation is Man United, so that's who you support. And then you have the players, which are the exclusive games. Last of Us is Eden Hazard or whatever you want to call it, and then you can keep going on and on to see all these players. And I'm saying that's your team. So when Last of Us is coming out, you're cheering because Last of Us is the new right back. Is Patrice Evra, for example, right? So you feel that connection towards him.
Patrick Evra was a left back, but
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I
carry
know.
on.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
trying to you're
So
trying to
it's
piss me. You're
it's
trying to
only
throw me
sports
off.
people that would
You're trying to
know
throw
this.
me off.
Normal
Yeah,
people don't know this.
yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Number one wouldn't notice. The casuals don't care about this. It's like, I mean, I know casual United fans. They don't know the players' names. They don't know any of these things. They just watch it, go, end of story. You know, that's what they do. So I think, you can make a comparison. Of course, it's not going to be 1-to-1, but it's a close comparison. Like I said, when these guys, my friends can grill me as much as they want and say, no, me watching ESPN is different from you watching gaming podcasts. They can say that as much as they want to, but no, it's not
I know.
different. It's a fandom part. I like watching Randall Thor 19. I like watching Boomstick. I like watching your show. And in the same way that I'm investing my time watching you guys' shows, they're investing their time watching ESPN. There is no difference.
So on that note, everyone, make sure you invest in TSWS Gaming. Like, subscribe, share this out. We came on here for like 1 hour and 30 minutes. That was the goal. We did double, and I've been trying to stop this conversation, but here we are. I tried to get us out, and then Oshers came in with his foolishness. Oshers, one more time, Oshers. Can we please go to bed? Plug your channel, and
Yeah.
let's go.
So you can find me on Facebook at Xbox Players South Africa. When I'm not on Facebook, I'm also working on some content that is definitely going to be out by the end of this week on Dragon Age and some of the other projects or some of the notable things that happened in 2024. And I'm always on Twitter, attacking everyone. Um, uh, yeah,
Terminally online. That's what he
terminally
is.
online, yeah.
Kai, please
Oz
plug
that
your
was
channel.
You can find
Plug
me
your
on
channel.
TayerTalks, TayerTalks. Anything I'm making recently? Yeah, I'm making some more Exodus videos. I already have two that I'm going to drop. I'm going to drop them in a few weeks because I want to drop a couple of videos all together at the exact same time. So that'll be the plan for that. And yeah, that's it. You can also find me on Twitter, Tayer Talks as well. TayerTalks.
Oh my god, tomorrow's gonna be so rough for me. It's 1 a.m. Jeez. All right. Thank you so much for watching, people. We do this every single Monday. It's called Everything Plus Gaming. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Tuesdays, I will stream. Hopefully, I'll have time and energy to play Dustborn because I said the name of the game I shouldn't say during last Friday's podcast with the crew. So now I have to play Dustborn for at least 1 or 2 hours. So we'll see. We'll see if I have time for that. Otherwise, I'll just stream other topics tomorrow. Um, Wednesdays, it's me and Ham for the lowdown, talking about gaming news and stuff. Fridays, it's bullsitting with me, Ham, Cozy, Matt Likes Games, Mental 99, a guest or two if they show up. Just chopping it up and having a good time. Also, make sure to tune in every single morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, I think. Ham Solo is on every single day, talking about video games. Sometimes he streams games, and it's a good time for you guys to come through and even call in, have your say, and discuss. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and for commenting. Really appreciate everyone in the comment section. Y'all were awesome. The trolls, the genuine discussions, everyone. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to to smash the like button on your way out, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.